We are here with some D&D for one of our Discord servers. We're actually going to be streaming with the Darkness. So Darkened Cyrus is streaming, Afterburn 85 is streaming, Lone W Hunt is streaming, Elvin Later is streaming, and of course I am streaming on Twitch. Baby Bones. Let me hang on a second. Baby Doll Bones 90 is streaming as well on Twitch, so go ahead and check their point of views out as well. They might actually catch something that I don't. Again, this is D&D, and the title of said D&D adventure is The Encroaching Darkness.
Okay. Just finish the Val game. I'll try and finish my character. Okay, that's fine. Be right back.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I guess I'll continue to work on this. What's up, Bad Average? How's it going? I remember when he said handsome man. Why did Mr. Incredible come to mind? Yeah.
All right. So I've got everything set up. So Lone and Bones had a really good epiphany earlier. I don't know if you caught it, Si, but they actually took a screenshot of the character list and then actually installed it as like a window in there so that people can see who's playing what characters, because it actually says the gamer tag and the character on theirs.
It doesn't on mine because I hadn't set it up because I wasn't paying attention when Lone said he did it.
Actually, you know what?
You forgot.
No. I'm gonna post this. I'm gonna post the image in
Levi.
That's not what my Discord is called. That's
Bubba,
unfortunate.
Levi, you seriously have to turn your iPad down if you're gonna sit here.
Oh, please do.
There we go.
You have to turn it down. You have to.
I posted the character list in the Encroaching Darkness thread.
Okay, wait, what?
In our D&D thread. That's where the picture is.
I'm in the wrong thing.
I was like, oh, you know what? I could just give everybody this image.
Excuse me. Copy image. So now what the heck do I do with this?
Manually set it up wherever you want.
Oh God.
Oh no, you've given her too much
I don't know what her layout looks like, so it's a little hard for me to go, oh well, just put it here.
Well, just put it there.
Better than the answer I was about to give.
Armin! Elvin, is Jade gonna stream?
Perhaps.
Is Elvin gonna stream?
Is Elvin gonna stream?
Elvin is live.
Elvin is currently live.
Live.
Oh, live.
Alright, what's up, people?
What?
How many people were we missing?
Looks like the only one we're missing so far is Jade.
That's because you bastards haven't pulled me down!
And
Okay, she's there. But
You gotta accept your. You gotta accept it.
Accept what? Oh.
he's been accepted for so long, but
I didn't know.
she never joined.
Wait, she's down there. I'll invite her.
I've invited her.
There you go.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hang on,
I
okay.
didn't know the thing
First
was
round
up there.
does.
How am I supposed to know how this works? I'm just here, damn it.
She did will go.
Yeah, the stage thing is a little new to learn.
Yeah, it takes some time, but I think once we get used to it, it's gonna be just fun.
Actually, I do think we're actually still missing someone.
Hey, yeah, we're missing X. Or is he here?
X won't be able to make it because he works tonight.
Oh, okay.
That's the one downside. Is this is the one night where everyone else could make it. X can't.
So you're gonna have to God mode him.
So basically, what it is like I was saying earlier, is I will be surprised guidance and resistance mean for cantrips? I think guidance is like your bonuses to hit, and then resistance is not like how much damage you minus off if it hits. Like you don't take a certain amount of damage because you're resistant to it.
No, I think resistance is either half or disadvantage.
Yeah.
I think it's half, but I could be wrong.
All right, so I'm actually a little bit behind what I was planning because we were all just chatting and coming up with new ideas of hiding certain things like my DM notes and all that, which is great. I'm glad we did that, but yeah. So like usual, the original plan and what actually is happening is two completely different things. So real quick, we'll go over a quick recap because we, for those of you who are just joining us, both in the stage, if you are just joining us, I have my stream up so I don't actually see the stage, and I also have the stage chat up, because it just makes it easier not to see how big an audience there is, or if there's no audience, because then I feel like I'm boring people. So we went through the prologues for two different groups. We had the first prologue was for the Arakokra. Am I saying that right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
usually I'm gonna say Ara Kakara, but I figure I'll actually be serious here. The Arakokra, Ferris, played by Baby Doll Bones 1990 or 90. Are you on YouTube? Or you're on Twitch right now?
I'm on Twitch right now.
So you're Twitch, so you're Baby Doll Bones 1990.
Yeah.
At Twitch. Okay. Cool. So she is, for those of you who don't know what Arakokra is basically, she is a badass human-sized eagle, or whatever kind of bird I guess you want to be technically within that family of birds of prey style bird.
Bird there.
Then we have the Goliath barbarian Gandium. Is that the right way of pronouncing it? I made a note, but I want to make sure I have it right. Gandium. Okay. Cool. And then we have Ropiros Amakir, the elf bard. Or wait a minute, Goliath Gandium is by Dark and Cyrus. You heard the voice, but I forgot I need to actually introduce who was playing it. You have Ropiros Amakir, played by Jadefire 2013, an elf bard with a very interesting quirk. Ropiros is a bard who is deaf. Right? You're deaf, not mute.
Yeah, I'm deaf, not mute.
Yeah.
Yay!
Which is why you could hear her scream when the arrow hit her in the knee, or him in the knee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Him, yes.
I believe, if I'm reading all my notes correctly, I believe that Jade is the only one who is playing is gender bent, right? You're the only one playing the opposite gender.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with yeah.
Yes.
Like out of the.
You're the only one playing a male who is a female in real life.
Okay, because I don't
identifies as a female
I
in real
know
life.
out of the first four, yes, I know the female playing a male, but I didn't know about the other three.
Yeah, the other three are playing with who they are.
Oh.
They're not playing the other side. So.
Okay.
Did play around with the idea
Yeah.
of making a female blade singer
They didn't want to.
just because.
Just because. And then finally we have Yokus, nicknamed Bunny, which it was originally that character's played by Lone W. Hunt. So from what y'all remember from that first one, those 4 players, there have been a few changes. I just want to cover that all with you so you know what you're addressing or you don't have the wrong character in your mind. Gandium actually changed from a dwarf in the prologue. The way I like to play it is you play the prologue, and if something about your character doesn't seem right, and that's why I always try to do a prologue, so you get a chance to test it out. I usually throw in some small combat ability, a chance for you to use kind of your ability to see what you like, what you dislike. And then until you start chapter 1, you could make changes to your character. You could change the race, you could change the class, and we take it as canon. We figure out a way for it to work. We had 2 players who took advantage of that, of the original group of 4. Gandium shifted from a dwarf to a Goliath. because it fit more of your play style, I believe. And then so remember, you're not talking to like a 4-foot dwarf anymore. You're talking to a small giant. So just in mindset. And then also Yokus, the bunny, changed because the version he was using of the bunny people from before actually has been archived. That version is no longer available in sanctioned campaigns. Recently, a new book updated and came out. The Fey Wildlands. Boys, please stop.
I didn't have anything to do with that.
No, not you. Yeah, my dog. They've been quiet and laying down sleeping all day. I go live and suddenly they want to bark and play tag and have zoomies.
No, I meant the Feywild.
Oh yeah. No.
I didn't either.
Yeah. So what was the book title that just came out? It was a new campaign book.
Something about the Witch of the Feywild, just like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Witch
me,
of the-
definitely.
The Wilds of Witchlight or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. So something like that. We're just gonna go with it. Just go with it.
So what happened is I was playing with a playtest character that I still had access to, and then the official version came out, so I just switched over to the official.
Yeah. So he didn't actually change races. It's just his character now has fewer human-like features, and now looks a little bit more like Peter Rabbit.
Wait, no, that's kind of how I imagined it.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured a person with ears.
Yeah, I was imagining more like the Final Fantasy 12, the girl with the.
I mean, you
Vieira.
still can.
No.
You still can.
Lone's not a Vieira. No, whenever he booped somebody on the snoot to heal them with his paw.
All right.
Yeah. So
That whole
he's more in line with, and that's for the benefit not only of the players but also for you and the audience if you're trying to learn D&D. While there will be some elements that may show up in the campaign from various spells or weapons or like to certain enemies or certain elements of story, we are going to try to keep it as much as possible to things, even though they've been tweaked a little bit. So if you're watching us to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons, we can give you a fairly accurate aspect of it. The other side of that, though, is that while there are books that give things, you have to kind of take it as a kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean. They're not really rules, they're more like guidelines. They can be tweaked as long as the players involved know that, hey, this is getting tweaked and this is the rules of the world. This is okay and this is not. Like, as long as you set those up, you can do it. We have some people who are practicing their rolls already, trying to make sure they don't have crud rolls on their first chances to go.
They're rolling this shit.
Our Noah is just rolling.
Let's get that
all
one out of the way.
bad rolls out of the way. Yeah, let's get that one out of the way. Okay, so the first 4 characters started off in the village of Yetvis, and it was a beautiful community. It was always perfect weather. They had more than enough food for their entire community. It was made up of all these different races that lived, while they had some skirmishes here or there. So they had guards and they had, law keepers and the like. For the most part, it stayed fairly civil. But one day there was something very different happening in the world. There was actually smoke coming off from the west, and that was where, or north. Okay, I did have it marked down right. I thought I screwed up, and I'm like, did I write that wrong? So okay, thank you for double checking that, because I made a note, and then I was like, wait, I feel like I screwed up here. And I did. My change to my notes was wrong. So they had smoke coming from the north. Somebody is live. Somebody's got a hot wire.
Armin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Probably me.
smoke coming from the north, and that was where our story picked up. Was this that is a very unusual thing to happen in this community. For the most part, aside from a few drunken brawls or a few disagreements here or there, there's more than enough for stuff to go around. Now, obviously, it could have just been a simple accident. But Ferris was actually already in the air practicing her flying.
Yeah.
And went to go investigate. And on her way there, she discovered that the daughter of the farmer on the most northernmost farm was actually running to town. A young girl that she knew named Morgan. And Morgan was covered in blood and was screaming about, you know, her family being attacked and killed and like. So Ferris picked up Morgan, took her back to town. There was some confusion about Ferris's involvement in young Morgan's injuries. However, that got resolved fairly quickly when Gandium and the Roperos both got involved and backed up Ferris. The little girl was taken off to get some medical attention by Madame Viziri, the child shelter mistress. And the rest of the group, including Yokus the bunny, who was interested in what was going on with the, you know, hearing about the stuff, all headed off to the north of the farms, where they encountered a group of apparently unnaturally powerful goblins, because numbers.
Because numbers.
So, yeah. So that ended up happening. They actually fought them off. They killed them, and then began to explore the fact that once you get to a certain part of Gitfis, there is this golden shield that separates the town from the outside. It goes in a circle completely around the town. Now this shield is usually a golden color. Where these goblins has shown up, which has never shown up before, these kind of creatures inside the city walls, basically. Inside this barrier. The shield itself had turned to closer to an orange color. And there were starting to be little holes in it. Gandium and Raperos ended up throwing rocks out. Raperos actually tried to throw Gandium out at one point, or just at least add some extra one, and figured out that he could not pick up Gandium. But they threw a rock out, brought it back in, were actually able to cause a puncture in the barrier wall, which found out that outside of it, even though everything was nice and sunny inside the barrier, that outside the barrier it was very dark. There was this kind of mist that was kind of all over the ground and all over the place. And Yokus actually had a way of magically creating a fire to try to bring some light into it, and lit this fire directly under the face of a dragon waiting outside.
Ouch.
So, the dragon charged, but the barrier healed in just in time, kept the dragon out, protecting the group. But they went out to go figure out what happened, if anybody knew anything. Rapiris and Yokus decided to stay at the barricade to make sure the dragon didn't get in. They were taunted by a voice from outside, but decided that they would stay there and guard it while Ferris would try to attempt to fly Gandium back to town. That also did not quite go as planned. We'll spare some details about that. I hope it was pretty embarrassing for Gandium. But
That was ridiculous.
That was funny.
That was super funny.
So yeah, they went back to town. Gandium had a change of clothes and cleaned his armor a little bit. And then they started to head back. Gandium decided that flying was not his style and began to trudge back to the northern barricade after collecting his backup weapons and armor and the like. When the entire town started to have an earthquake and a storm overhead formed the barrier over the top of the town, creating a bubble which was normally hidden from view of the sky except to individuals like Ferris who could fly and actually get close enough to it to see that it created this golden bubble protecting the entire village. There was now lightning bolts striking, and they were striking in such ferocity and so quickly one after the other that they were starting to break through the barrier. When the barrier weakened, Ferris actually noticed that there were 6 statues surrounding the city in kind of these compass points. 4, one to the north, south, east, and west, and then one to the northwest and one to the southeast. So she flew back down to relay information. At the same time, Gandium had come to the conclusion that the ground was becoming more compact, and that suspicion was reinforced when they both arrived back to the barrier, in which they found that Roparis had actually taken some injuries while they were gone, that Yokis had repaired without explanation as to what happened. Neither one of them seemed to want to talk about it. But they returned with the whole group, and Gandium's suspicions were confirmed when they saw that it looked like the ground near the barrier had actually been moved up, confirming his suspicions that the barrier itself was shrinking, compacting the ground together, which would eventually probably end up crushing the town, while at the same time knowing that something outside was trying to break their way in. The group debated their options and finally decided that for the good of their village, they would venture out of the barrier and see if they could figure out what was going on and do what they could to save their village. And we left them as they exited out and headed off on their adventure. Picking back up, we had a second prologue with a second set of heroes. Those heroes were Exodus, played by Exodus Decius. He is not here at the moment. He is being spy-y and hiding and judging his new allies about whether or not they can be trusted. So he's hiding in the trees, and that's what we're going to say. He's going to follow along and judge.
Judge.
He actually came from a different world and had actually had a previous run-in with a demigod, and that demigod had promised revenge, although he thought he had killed said demigod, only to find out years later that the demigod was just waiting and biding his time, and transported Exodus through a very interesting turn of events of transporting him, and he woke up in the world of the mist where the rest of our heroes are. Fast forward to Shin, our elf wizard blade singer.
Yes.
He is played by Elven Leader. Apparently my dog approves. And Shin actually lives just outside of a village, studying the mist, studying the magical elements of it, as well as many other aspects of the world, to improve his wizardry and blade singing. Wizardry? Did I say that right? Yeah. Okay.
Close enough.
And one day the mist started having very, very different properties and aspects than it had shown before in all of his years of studying it. The mist became unusually aggressive, and he ended up seeking shelter in the town. But after realizing that the mist was still pushing in, he decided that while there was an opening south out of his village, that the mist was not blocking. He let fate decide with a coin flip, and had decided, with the help of this coin, to venture out to the south towards this legendary village that was supposedly protected by the gods that people had not been able to get to for some various reasons or another. It was a legend, but he decided to head that way, and as he headed out of the town, the mist closed in and basically formed a straight line in front of him of solid mist, a very, very thick wall, and deposited 2 other individuals. One of these individuals was Exodus, who was transported from his home to the land of the mists. The other was a half-elf ranger named Arnoa, who previously, before being captured and transported by the mist, played by Armin Jace here in, and Arnoa was out hunting to gather resources and something to sell to keep both himself and his sister, resources to survive, food, lodging, and the like. And was hunting a very, very large, very, very profitable deer when he accidentally missed with his bow and arrow, instead striking a very large creature that had been dwelling within the mist. That creature was a very large orc, along with its younger brother, who chased Arnoa through the forest. He eventually climbed up a tree to hide from them, but one of them detected him with their sense of smell and cut down the tree. As he fell, the mist swallowed him as well as the two orcs. Returning back to Shin at his village, Arnoa and Exodus were both deposited right in front of Shin, who, in a very quick moment of diplomacy, convinced them to join him against the two orcs that had also appeared in the village now. And after some interesting trickery with small orbs and like,
They're not so friendly.
yeah. After working together and doing the best they could under forming this small alliance at such a short notice, they did end up defeating the two orcs. And then Shin led his two new friends down the road, heading to the protected village. Once arriving there, they were greeted with an earthquake and some things going on, and proceeded to see where a fire had lit up just off to their left, just outside of this golden barrier that they couldn't break through no matter what they tried to do, and came face to face with a dragon that had a fire lit under it recently. After they hid, the mist ended up actually taking the dragon and removing it, once again showing some of those properties that Shin has been studying for years. And then the three members of the smaller party actually received the vision of 6 individuals standing in a field. There was no mist. It was in bright day. Very beautiful lands. And then greeted with a beautiful woman who pointed off in the direction where the dragon had been while they were still in this different version of the world. And when they came to, they looked over where the woman was pointing and saw our 4 original heroes from the first prologue exiting out of the barrier and heading north, and decided to see if they could catch up with that group, and that is where we left off with their prologue. So after going through this, if there's anyone in the audience or any players either didn't understand, if there's anything anyone didn't understand, feel free to ask questions at this time. But if not, our players are basically at the point where they are ready to be back in control of themselves. So where we left off was Elven leader Shin, Exodus, and Arnoa, the half-elf ranger, heading to meet up with the group. Exodus is a little wary of this group of 4. He doesn't know if they're friend or foe, so he scrambles off into the trees to hide. And that's where we'll leave him, following the group a little bit. The rest of you, Ferris, Gandium, Raparos, and Iokas, y'all are heading off to the north because Ferris had seen a statue off in the distance, miles and miles away, while the lightning storm was going on to the north. And the mist for the rest of the directions you looked around seems to be fairly thick, but heading north it seems to have loosened up a little bit, leaving you a path to head north. So at this point, I'll leave it to you to figure out. Shin and Arnoa, you are catching up to the group. Do you want to hang and just kind of follow them, or y'all had left out saying that you were going to try to run forward and actually yell out to them? Is that still your intent, or are you going to just follow back and see what they do?
Oh.
Well, I'm going to hang back a little bit because half-breeds are not generally looked very highly upon.
Yeah. Shin?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was being distracted by my community.
You're good. You're good. They playing catch up real fast and.
Yeah, it's one of my good clanmates decided to jump in and utilize my alerts repeatedly.
And by
There you go.
utilized and abused.
That's a good community member.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Okay, so we're at the point where we see them coming out of the bubble?
No, they've already started. When you came to after being visited with your vision,
Right.
they are already. They're about where the bonfire was when you got ambushed by the dragon.
Okay. I definitely play it cautious, but we also. I'm curious about what's inside the bubble. Because we just saw this whole big magic show. And we've been hearing for years about people coming from the sheltered place. But I don't think I've ever actually met somebody that's from the bubble. So I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to meet them, but I also want to make sure the rest of the group is on board before I just drag these two people that I just met and probably help save my life as well as theirs into something they're not willing to. So I kind of look back, and who was it that was kind of taking a step back and hiding away?
Exodus. So Exodus is not actually here, so we are going to come up with. Oh
Okay,
wait, y'all
okay.
can actually see that.
Hmm.
See
Armin was letting me know that apparently, even though I thought I had it set to only watching the screen of my characters, apparently it saw where I had turned most of my channel points off, so I didn't have people randomly having me turn into different nationalities while we're trying to get
dang,
towards
man. Oh, I
Lame.
saved points for this, bro.
Bro.
Okay. I
No,
didn't
no,
know if
it's
y'all wanted.
fine.
I'll go turn it back on. I'll turn
No,
it back
leave
on.
it. Leave it be. No, leave it be.
Oh,
Be,
you
be your
done
own
did it now.
broadcaster. Your community hates you, but
You
be
gotta
your
keep
own
your posture
broadcaster.
check and hydration on anyway.
Yeah.
All
Nobody
right.
likes a slouching GM.
So it's me and not Exodus, but
Arnoa.
You and Arnoa.
Arnoa. And Arnoa is kind of hiding away. Is that what I'm hearing?
He's a little bit
Shrinking back?
defensive about it.
I'm not necessarily hiding, I'm just not advancing.
He's hiding.
Okay.
So X is in the back, he's in the middle, you're in the front.
He's hiding.
Sounds like a good Oreo.
I'm assuming that over our little jaunt north from the town to here, we would have done basic character introductions. Now that we've beaten
Yes.
some crap out of it.
You've gotten to talk about the events, so unless Arnoa has decided that he would like to keep most of his details secret, X has never been shy about the details. For being a spy master, he certainly gives away a lot of times. So,
Very unspy master like, but okay, I can live with that. Like,
yeah. So,
I see Arno like kind of just staying back a little bit. I'm like, hey, they just came out of the only place the mist hasn't touched.
So,
I do want to say hi.
have we noticed them yet?
have you noticed them yet?
Can I make a perception check to see if I've noticed them?
Yeah, make a perception check. And since Arnaud is the one who really knows stealth and whatnot, he'll roll for his group that he's being cautious. So, okay, so you roll a 22, so he needs to roll... Oh, no, wait a minute. Yokus
I
did.
rolled a 21.
Okay. Well, I'm guessing Yogas wanted to try to detect him as well. So, Arnoa, you need to roll for a
You
stealth
need to roll a
check.
20.
Good, man.
Yeah. And see if you beat theirs. If you beat theirs, then
Oh,
okay.
good.
So
No.
as Shin and Arnoa are debating whether or not to introduce themselves to
Well,
you.
I must have heard them like bickering, or when Arnoa
Cussing,
stepped
but yeah.
back to like, I'm kind of weary. You know, my wonderful, wonderful hawk eyes went, "Hey, what is that?" You know, like
Yeah.
the good
Took
ADD person that I am.
He stepped on a twig, and my rabbit ears perked up, and I drew my crossbow out in the direction.
I'm assuming that my passive
How is
perception
Exodus
would
rolling a
catch
stealth
that.
check?
Because I think Vern's rolling it for him.
I just wanted to see. if
Nobody
you
sees
noticed him or not.
Exodus.
Okay, so he obviously is seen.
You see him like
Hiding.
disappearing into the woods, but nobody really confronts him, I guess.
Rolled with the dice of heroism.
Of hiding.
The dice of not so heroism.
No.
No.
All right, so so do we notice them?
Yes. Yeah. Both Ferris and Yokas.
I want
Either hear
I
them or
want
notice
to,
them.
I want to immediately approach them with my axe out, with my great
God,
axe.
Senpai
out.
has noticed me. I don't want to be noticed.
Off to a great start.
Oh boy.
Senpai is angry.
But you gotta remember, we just came out of. Our situation is different than theirs. Theirs were like
Are.
discovering people. Ours was, we just came.
Oh my
outside
God!
of
There's
Bubble
this
Boy.
whole other world.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't
And
know.
the other world involves a dragon.
Right?
So I'm approaching them with my great axe.
Okay. The Shin, Arnoa, what's your reaction to this guy? This mountain of a man comes walking your way, just brandishing a large axe.
You laugh.
You laugh.
No. That
Shin's like, don't laugh, do not laugh.
Arnoa's over there nervous, chuckling. Just.
Nervously chuckling and nervously loading my shotgun. I mean,
Wow. No.
Shotgun?
He does not have a shotgun. It's
my
an
God.
contest.
it's a metaphor.
He should have a
Hold on,
shotgun.
wait a minute.
I'm
We're here with darts and daggers.
Shotgun.
I'm the artificer. I'm the one with the shotgun.
So that's what this. So that's what outside the bubble's like. Okay. All right.
Yes. No. So I'm being approached by two very strange-looking creatures.
Oh yeah,
both
giant
armed.
fur.
So
No. A little
giant
rabbit
and a
person and a
bird.
dwarf.
Oh, I'm
No,
not
not
approaching.
a dwarf.
Are y'all approaching yet? Because
No, I
was
think
the
just
one
the
who
dwarf
said-
is approaching.
The Goliath.
No,
I'm a
it's not- it's a
Goliath.
Goliath.
He remember.
Oh.
Yeah, he switched races. He is, and he.
I did not
is,
know
and
he switched races.
Yes, he is. He
Yep.
is and has
Oh,
always been
okay.
a Goliath as far as canon is concerned. Same with
Okay,
Yokas.
okay.
Yokas is and has always been a Haragon.
What the heck is a herrick? Oh, that's that. Okay,
Rabbit
hold on.
folk.
I got it.
Because I don't know why they didn't just keep it rabbit folk.
But yes, I'm being approached by two armed creatures, so I'm going to
One.
arm myself in defense.
Yeah, you see me
Oh,
pull out my short sword, but like kind of a run my hand across the blade and have the blade flat, so you can be like, I don't want to have to use this, but I will defend myself if need be.
Do you say that?
Yes.
Okay. I want to speak to the general people, that both of them.
Mhm.
State your intentions.
The fog came heavy on my village that I live in just down the road. We came to see this sheltered village and see if the wall still stood. when the fog was so thick.
Now, I do want to point in here, Gandium, you know, the stories y'all were told growing up was that the world was covered in the mist and destroyed, and that the only survivors of the world were your village, that there's nobody left outside. That's why the gods protected your village with a barrier.
Correct. Which is why I approached them with my axe.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make that clear for your for everyone's viewers and whatnot, that for those who weren't here for that part, but when they were younger, they were taught that the world was destroyed and that they were the only survivors. There were no other villages or anything like that.
I want to speak to Shin, and I want to say our group that you see behind me came from the bubble that you also see behind us. We have heard of no living person passing through the bubble as we just have, actually returning back to the bubble. So for all we know, you are the enemy.
Grant you, it's dangerous out here, but I haven't tried to attack you yet, which is more than I can say for the occurrences I've had today.
You said the fog covered your village, and you're looking for a wall. Our first experience with this area was merely poking our head through that stupid bubble that you see behind us, which is our home, which is currently shrinking based upon the reason why we were looking out and trying to find what we're trying to save we're basically trying to save our town. And
you know
we're hoping to step out and find that answer. But we found you. You're the first encounter for us.
And you know what? I tell you, if you'd been here about 5 minutes, 10, 20 minutes ago, you would have seen a crazy magic show. I'm glad you didn't step out, because that's where your somebody's dragon hit. Thankfully, the mist swallowed it, and I don't know where it went, but it can stay wherever it went, because I don't want to be on the receiving end. But on a side note, whoever put this bubble here, I think is actually still watching to see what happens, because on top of the lightning that was striking like crazy on top of it, there was a golden beam towards it from the north. And I'm hoping that was actually helping, because it was the only golden thing in the area besides the bubble.
Can you clarify something, Bern? We traveled out the north of the bubble, correct?
Yes. Yeah, Bones, Ferris actually told you that while she was flying during the lightning, and one of the lightning bolts actually cracked through the barrier and almost hit her. But when it created a hole, she was able to it kind of shattered the top of the bubble temporarily, and she was able to see around.
Right.
And she saw these 6 giant statues, all that were kind of facing your village. They're all miles away, but she was so high up in the air she could actually see them out in the distance. And one of those was actually, she relayed when she returned back to you, that the way y'all were facing where that dragon was when you poked your hole, when you pulled that rock through the barrier and created a hole, directly that way is to the north. There should be a statue directly to the north.
So, can I respond to Shin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when we were on the other side of the bubble, we had the bright idea to chuck a rock through, to play, I don't know, fish with whatever we were finding on the other end, and we couldn't make out what was over there, but we knew that there was a large creature, which has to be the dragon that you say that you just encountered.
Oh yeah. Because whoever used that bonfire, that just went straight up its nostrils, and that was a sight too. That was crazy.
The rabbit just starts whistling.
That'll be that's our village pet that you see back there.
Oi!
You have a village pet? need a
Not
village
really. Not
Stop
really.
spreading rumors!
So
And just kind of
He's just jumping up and down. Stop spreading rumors. I know he's supposed to be like human size, but I just see like a regular sized rabbit jumping up and down. Stop doing that.
and like darts eyes back and forth. Like,
So what's y'all's intentions? Are you? Our goal is to save our town, to understand what's beyond, but to save our town. So we're trying to figure out should we understand who you are and become part of who you are, and group up, or what is your intention?
Okay, first of all, that sounds really creepy the way you phrased that. Second of all, my goal was to hunt a big deer and sell its pelt and bring home its meat for my sister and I to eat off of. I ended up missing the elk, hit a goblin, and got chased and almost crushed by both of them. So I'm having a pretty awful day so far.
Well, I got a bunny back here. If that works.
Not as much.
The
meat.
rabbit turns his bow to you now.
So it's is it a pet or emergency food? I'm confused.
Depends on the day. So.
Emergency food.
Emergency
That's it.
food. Day.
The rabbit starts walking away.
Which direction?
North.
Okay.
Which is
Yeah,
technically
that's a whole
towards
bunch of money.
us,
Amazing.
correct?
Yes. So to your north, back south towards your village, right all the way up to the barrier itself, the mist is completely gone. You do notice, like as you're talking, the mist is filling in quite a few feet to your left and right. As a matter of fact, Arnoa, being that he's cautious, is kind of looking around, checking his exits. Arnoa, you can't even see the road you and Shin came from anymore. You're almost kind of in this tunnel that the mist is surrounding you, but it's leaving a very clear path to the north. But you can't even get back to where you came from without just entering into the thick mist.
I want to take that time. Would I have seen it too?
Yeah, you've studied it. You've proven through what you've done that a lot of your attention is focused on what the mist is doing. So you've kind of gotten this sense of keeping an eye on where the mist is, and especially the way it's been so unnaturally aggressive lately.
Just
You're
being
kind of still on
cautious.
edge.
Yeah. Okay. Seeing it start coming in, I want to try and start relaying as much of the information about the mist that I know to this new group. Like, I started going, okay, I hate to break this up, but that mist is dangerous. And if you go too far into it, weird shit starts to happen really quickly.
The rabbit
And-
stops.
Yeah, like, so I wouldn't go out into the mist so fast, Mr. Rabbit, dude.
Well, the way he's heading is actually there's no like, unlike
Yes.
other areas where the mist has kind of been like on the lower ground. The way he's heading, you can actually see the ground just fine. Like the mist is not even touching the ground heading to the north. And your assumption is that it's
That
still very
golden
clear there
beam.
because that's where that golden beam came through. When it came through, it kind of spread the mist out in its path that you saw, and it still hasn't
Right.
kind of recovered heading that way.
And it's like, and so seeing as how that's coming up on us, and that's the only clear area,
So
we're kind
as-
of forced to go that way.
Yeah. So as the rabbit, as Yokus is actually passing by Raperos, and y'all are talking, she's trying not to interrupt you and whatnot, but Raperos actually reaches out and grabs the scruff of Yokus's neck to just kind of keep him from wandering off too far. Or he
I
does. excuse
struggle.
me, I keep forgetting.
I struggle, but since I have a -1 in strength, I just struggle. I just like swing around wildly, and even if it were to hit, there's no damage.
Yeah, and for statement, that's not something I'm doing for.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, that's not something I'm doing myself. That's actually was requested by Jade herself. So
I just want to take since he's explaining the mist, I just want to explain our village in the story, and seeing as you've already done the prologue, I just want to expect that conversation happened.
Yeah, that information is fully gone over, and if there's anything that wasn't covered in our explanation of the prologue and whatnot, or any information that you would like to question that would have been shared with them, Shin or Arnoa, y'all are more than welcome to ask about it. They would know the stories they grew up with, so I'll be able to answer any of those questions as far as the knowledge they would have. And in return, any questions the main group has, if you didn't get a chance to listen to their prologue or any questions you have about the mist, if Shin would know that or Arnoa would know that based on their interactions with the mist or the outside world, I will be able to answer it. They will have access to some of those answers. Obviously, nobody here knows the full extent of any of these, but if anyone here knows it and you ask about it, you would know it.
Okay. Here's the question: which direction did the dragon go at the end of its encounter?
I want to say
You
it.
want me to answer that, or did you?
No, that's for clarification. At the end of their campaign, which
So they came
direction
for they came from a road that was actually heading through. They were actually heading. From their point of view, they were heading south, but their road actually kind of cuts off and heads northwest a little bit.
Okay. But what about the dragon? Did it head away from the
dragon
bubble?
headed
The bubble?
the dragon actually followed along the edge of the bubble and got to their road, and they were hiding, and when the dragon spotted them and started to charge, the mist kind of like roared in, covered the dragon completely, and when the mist moved out of the way, the dragon was gone.
Yeah, so it didn't quite go anywhere, but it literally went anywhere.
I don't want to do all the suggesting, but I want to say, and maybe Ferris needs to jump in here and talk about the 6 totems essentially, or what did you call them?
There's 6 very large statues, like large enough that she could see them from the sky, and they're miles away.
Maybe I would like to suggest that the only information we know is that there are large totems or large statues around the bubble, and it might behoove us to investigate something. Seeing as you said the mist isn't big around the bubble, that at least we would be outside of the mist with their caution.
I agree.
Great talk.
So excited.
Great.
I don't talk a lot. I don't.
Much backstory. Such wow.
Too many people. Okay.
Is there anything you would like, Ferris? You did actually see the statues, and because of your Hawkeye, your bird vision and whatnot, you were able to see they were humanoid in nature. They weren't anything like any super unordinary. Whether they were human or they were supposed to be a dwarf or a Goliath or whatever, you couldn't tell that, but you could tell they were definitely humanoid in stature. You couldn't see the fine details.
Yeah,
but that was definitely something you've never seen a construction that
like
large
that.
before. Or there were no statues like that in your village of like large, like these statues based on your guess, the fact that you could see them so far away, the heads of these statues would have almost reached the top of the bubble of your village.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay, we've got to break another bubble and save one too. So
can we where was the closest one?
Well, they were in different directions, but right now the only path you have without wandering into the thick mist is to head north into the woods.
Let's go.
Into
Which
the
actually
thick
kind
of
of,
it?
yeah.
Into the thick of it.
So as y'all are moving north through the woods, Shin, being on higher edge, notices that as you're moving every 20, 30 feet or so, just to check, he looks behind him and notices that the mist is starting to fill in. It's not getting any closer to your group, but as you are starting to fill in, to the point now where he can no longer see the the bubble around your village. You can't see the gold from it or anything. It's filling in behind you. So the path that you're taking is being kind of covered up by the mist and filled in as you progress forward.
Right, as you look to your 6, you'll notice that the bubble is no longer visible. Don't freak out. This is just the beginning of your adventure.
Can we test that to see if it's like one person who's keeping it that way? Like if we just spread out, see if it's still...
You go right down the bed.
Oh, by all means.
what I'm
I
saying,
love
like-
experiments.
Like spreading out that range of
That sounds like
visibility?
a wonderful idea.
Is that possible? Like,
Yes.
can we take all 6 of us and
you're
spread
in
out?
the woods and you don't see anything that's blocking your ability to head north. It's just that you've got about 30 to 40 feet of space width between the mist to your left and the mist to your right. So you've got plenty of room to maneuver and walk around. You've got plenty of room to do what you need to do. The mist isn't closing in on you, but it is obstructing you from seeing any further out to the left or right or behind you. All you can really see is forward.
So no matter who goes
refresh my question.
to the edge of that, it doesn't move further back or anything like that.
So you're
doesn't
heading
react.
closer to your.
No.
So are you trying to
No,
fall
no, no,
back
no,
or?
no, no,
Like,
no, no.
we're trying to spread out and see if the mist stays around us or if it moves if we get further apart.
We're
the
seeing if it
mist
reacts.
impacted by our placement. Like if
We're
the
seeing
whole
if it
group
reacts
sees-
to a specific individual,
Correct.
or if we
all stand
spread
still.
out, does the mist stay that specific set away from us?
All right. So, as the rest of you spread out and you get closer to the mist, it doesn't really have any reaction. But, Shin, are you moving forward, or are you going towards the mist, or are you falling behind? Where are you at? Or are you staying right in the center?
I would stay center front, and I think with having just met them and being kind of like the good faith guy, I definitely volunteer to be like front too. And
Because there's no mist in front of you, so you wouldn't be pushing the mist back. There's literally no obstructions, no mist. You
so
can see the ground clearly to the front. There's only mist to your left, right, and behind you.
so like the front left is what I would probably attempt.
Okay, so
Yay.
I rolled to see if any member of the mist was going to be
It's gonna be great.
reacting, or the mist was going to be reacting
love
to it. So that's why I'm asking you where your location is. So as you move up to the front left to kind of push into the mist a little bit, or come up to it, it doesn't fall back, but there is a moment where you're looking through, and whether it's just your shadow projecting into the mist, even though there's not much light out, even though it's only like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Chin, you know from living out here very often, same thing with Arnoa, even on what would be quote-unquote sunny days, it is a very foggy, misty day. There are never really any good, bright days. A little bit of light gets through, but there is very little difference between morning, midday, twilight. It's all this kind of like dark. The mist is always covering and blocking. There's always clouds blocking the sunlight.
Right.
But either your eyes are playing tricks on you, or when you move up kind of closer to the mist, it almost looks like your shadow. It's a very similar build to you, but it looks like there's someone out in the mist walking alongside you. And then as quickly as you notice them, the shadow just kind of dissipates. They just kind of disappear.
And the fog's away. Just.
But
Is
as far
that
as the mystic goes, it doesn't disappear.
Right.
It doesn't push back or anything. It's just you see a figure, and whether it's your own shadow just from the light source somewhere projecting into the mist, or whether it's somebody out there, you can't really tell. It's roughly about the same build as you, so it could be your shadow. You don't know for sure.
I've never like noticed anything like that previously.
No, but
Okay.
your senses do go off, like you feel like you are being watched when you notice this shadow in the mist. Granted,
Okay.
it could just be paranoid from the mist itself.
Can I
Right.
roll nature?
What are you trying to assess?
My goal
in
is
the nature of this?
to understand we're in the woods, and he's just told us what he saw. I would assume that has he told us? Do we know what it just happened?
At that point, I wouldn't just start stating it to give everybody like false. I wouldn't just try to put people on edge. If I wasn't sure about something, I wouldn't just be like, "Oh, well, yeah, this is happening."
You could roll on
you
nature
hear
to
me?
assess the trees and things like that around you, but I don't know what rolling on nature would help you assess of the current situation.
Okay,
If that makes any sense.
That's fine.
You may hear me whisper under my breath.
If you wanted to know if something was
you'd hear
nearby,
me
you would use
whisper it
perception.
in Elvish, peculiar. So if you knew Elvish, you would be able to, but otherwise you just hear me whisper something.
Can we, while we're paused, are there tracks?
Of the shadow or of your party?
In general.
So we're walking in a direction. Are there any tracks? Obviously, we would have trampled anything that we stepped on.
Yeah, there's random wildlife tracks. Obviously, this, from what you can tell, either the mist isn't always here, always, blocking this area, because there's plenty of animals that walk through here. And you even had animals that have just kind of like appeared in your village before, because there's hunters and stuff who hunt like random deer, and it's not like anybody in the village was breeding them and releasing them, so they were somehow getting in some way or fashion. Either that or the gods were just delivering them to your village and dropping them in. But short of a spawn block from Minecraft, it was never really explained in the village how they would get in.
Okay.
What is this Minecraft?
Guys, I don't want to have to. I feel like I'm the only one who's like, me and Elvin are the only one talking.
We're still proceeding north, correct?
Yeah, I would assume we just move north. Ooh, perception.
Okay.
Then I'm going to proceed to head towards the statue, because I feel like that's
since Yokus is riding on Rapiros' shoulder, since Rapiros was holding onto the rabbit, just put him on his shoulder. So now Yokus just has his mind focused on the surroundings, so he used perception to see if there was anything nearby.
Yokus, while you were searching around, you kind of looked over Shin's shoulder, and it kind of looked like he had a shadow out in the mist. But the thing was, when you look at it, you think, well, that's kind of strange, and you look around and notice no one else has a shadow. There's not enough light projected to generate a shadow. And when you look back at it, you can see that it looks like there's something or someone out in the mist kind of keeping up with Shin's pace, almost walking alongside him. The fact that you can see it even from where you are shows that the person couldn't be too deep into the mist. Because anything more, just from being close by it now, it's pretty thick. Just even sticking your hand in within a matter of like getting up to about halfway past your wrist to your elbow, your hand would disappear. It's that thick. So the fact that you could see an outline of someone, it's setting off some internal alarms in your head.
Whenever I see it,
so I'm panicking. So the first thing I'm going to do is create bonfire at it.
Yeah, you just like where it was at, Shin's sitting there trying to figure out if this is a shadow or not, and it dissipated in front of him. About the time it dissipated, your fire just kind of like launches up right in front of him inside the mist, but it just this whoosh of fire pops up.
Wow. You're trying to burn people now, Bunny.
I'm
Try to roll away.
shaking my head.
Like,
Hey, I mean, you guys are the ones who said I was emergency food.
It's not close enough that you need to be worried about. It's just kind of this weird thing that you were studying this like shadow figure.
I was looking out into the mist and suddenly there's fire. I'm gonna try and roll away. It's like, holy shit.
Okay, yeah. You're saying Yokus didn't intentionally put it near enough for you that you were in danger, but your roll away does actually happen. Your investigation into it, like trying to figure out what was going on and whatnot, it like I said, it looks like a shadow to you. You can't. There's a part of you that doesn't know whether it's real or not. If it's a part of your imagination, if it's a shadow, what's causing it? Because someone shouldn't just be able to walk in the mist like that. Usually, if people end up that far in the mist, they either disappear and you never see them again, or someone comes out of the mist like that, but they pretty much come out instantly. And they're usually very confused, like they were somewhere else before, and now they were just outside your village, or just outside your hut, or...
But at the same time, I study the arcane, and I'm from the Feywild.
Mm-hmm.
So, being able to walk in it would be a wonderful trick. A boon to very many people. And seeing as how I would be studying it, I'd be more interested in how they did it and less of what they're trying to do with it. I'd be on edge, but I definitely want to know what their trick is.
It definitely makes you curious about if someone could be out there, and if they are, how are they not affected? Is that something that can be learned? But
Right.
aside from the fact that Yokus actually saw the shadow as well, so it proves you saw something, but what you saw, neither one of you can tell.
I think I just want to start processing forward.
Yeah, I just want to get to where we're going.
Let's just keep moving. Let's keep going to the statue.
Yeah. So as you progress forward a couple more miles, it's starting to get kind of late. If this is a point, Shin, you come to kind of a clearing, and you notice that the mist is no longer closing in on your position. Like, it seems to get to a certain point, and it just stops.
Okay.
And there's a really large, wide area. You don't see any kind of aggressors or the like. And Arnoa, you don't feel as tense here. Like, you've run into these spaces where the mist just kind of seems to be a void of it, and it's kind of common for Arnoa to just, with his sister, if they're not currently in somewhere, they would set up camp and sleep for the night in here. If this seems to be a fairly, from what you can best tell, this would be a pretty safe place to set up camp and take a rest, either a long or a short one, to regroup up and get any energy or recharge yourself. Because at this point, you've been walking for a couple hours. It's getting close to the middle of the night at this point.
Okay.
Unless you just are on edge and want to keep pushing.
I would rather take the short rest.
I would rather sit watch.
Yeah. I'd definitely be for a long rest because, I mean, when the village had the fog roll in, the mist, it was just about time to start kind of going down for the night anyway. And so, that pint only going to carry me so far.
Okay, so the group does have some ample provisions, some food that people grabbed that were in their backpacks and whatnot. So you have food for the night. You have backpacks and the like that you can, make into a pillow or find a comfortable spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it is possible for you to have both a short or a long rest, whatever you need. If you want to stay for the night and wait till at least there's some sunlight coming up in the morning, because at this point it's getting very dark. So even though Shin, Rapiros, I think Yokus has dark vision, don't you? I'm trying to remember everybody's skills.
Arnoa does as well.
Okay. Yeah, even though y'all have dark vision and you can see that the mist is still out there a little bit away from you, even the mist kind of seems to be slowing down. It's not swirling in the air as much. It seems to be kind of stopping and lulling. And it seems like you feel like you'd be pretty safe for the night. So, but having a guard up is always a good thing, and Gandium kind of offers to stay up for the night. Does anybody else want to skip their rest and stay up and keep Gandium company? Or
I let him know about my trance and tell him that after the first 4 hours in trance, I can either keep company or assist in taking over with the next individual who wants to take watch and whatnot.
okay.
Rapirus doesn't have to sleep either, so the only strain he did was lifting the rabbit, so he's good to stay up.
I think
And Rapirus, you and Gandium were both part of the town guard at one point, so you already kind of have this repertoire with each other
Yeah.
of that. So
yeah, I think that's what I was about to suggest. The both of us being soldiers and have already done this before. I think the two of us trading off shifts would be a really good option.
And that would give me time to see if Rapirus is native to this plane, or if he actually spent time in the Feywilds previously, and kind of if they're native to the plane, like kind of like go over stuff like, oh, you know, this is the Feywilds, and like this is where I came from. This is like the origin of our Eladrin people, and this is the culture that I came from, kind of thing.
I feel like my character's gonna piss you off when he doesn't answer any of your questions because he can't hear you.
You guys started signing and going, oh, okay. Fuck.
Spike starts going off, and Rapirus just like lets you finish talking and tries to be all
Act as a
polite.
translator.
And
Right?
I can act as a translator.
you can. You can act as a
To a
translator.
certain degree, I'm sure, but I'm like, I don't know how well culture and
Yeah, some of what he says is there's not a good sign
Fine.
for some of the language of it. Like he's describing another world and space between worlds and portals and
flow of time, and yeah.
Now, Gandium, you do find what he's saying very interesting. It's a little bit probably over your head, but what's your intelligence?
10.
It's a little bit over your head, but you get the general gist of it, and it seems interesting, though you don't understand how any of it works. When he's describing it, it sounds like the stories that some of
It just
the elf
sounds
elders would talk about.
completely otherworldly. Like, I don't believe that. That doesn't seem possible.
Are you talking about them aliens?
Oh yeah.
But okay, so for all of you who are resting, go ahead and do your long rest. It will heal you by your hit dice, recharge your spells and the like.
Da, 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 da.
So while you're resting of this, now Shin, you and Raparos, y'all don't actually have to sleep. You just kind of go in like a trance when y'all rest, right?
Yeah, so we're completely aware of what's going on around us. We just can't interact without interrupting our rest.
Yeah. Arnoa, do you need to actually sleep, or do you have that elf aspect where you just kind of trance instead of sleep?
I don't actually need to sleep just because I haven't taken any damage or used any spells, but I don't think I've got that trance.
Okay.
Are you?
So,
Okay, yeah, half elves don't have it.
yeah. So, Gandium, you and Raparos are
Why don't you go potty?
conversating, which is really efficient for the rest of the group because you're not disturbing anyone's sleep when you're signing things. and just kind of keeping each other busy. Gandium, at one point, you can't quite put your finger on it, but you get this feeling like something is watching you just outside of the sleeping area off to the side. You don't see anything, but being a soldier, being someone who's, when you're on edge, you feel like something is just outside of the range, possibly just inside the thick part of the mist, and you're being watched, but you can't confirm that. You can't see it. And when you go sign to Rapirus about if he can see anything, he just tells you it's just the mist moving. He doesn't see anything. There's nothing in his dark vision that would give away that there's anyone or anything out there. But you can't quite shake the feeling like somebody is just. You stare at it for a long time and you just feel like where you're looking at, there's somebody staring at you.
I do not want to investigate. I want to.
I prefer to ignore it.
I'd rather stay with the group, regardless of what happens. Just to be there.
Okay.
Randomly toll the dead on everything in the mist.
Start like gassing it everywhere.
Yeah, you get a dead. You get the dead.
You get the dead, and you get the
I
dead.
want to roll intimidation on the fog.
It's done with your shit. All right. So, Gandium, I need you to roll me a Constitution check real quick.
Ooh.
Oh.
You yawn a little bit, but you're able to stave off. You felt a little sleepy, but you were able to stave it off and didn't fall asleep. You ended up staying up the rest of the night with Rapirus, and everything was calm. Everybody got a good rest. There were nothing interrupted you.
Thank you for rolling well, Gandium.
They traded off, right?
No.
Gandium just tried to stay up the whole night? I thought he was going to trade off at some point.
We suggested that we were trading off with each other.
Okay.
That's what I suggested.
Okay, so you are actually going to intentionally go to sleep at some point in the night. You're not going to get a full rest, but you're going to trade out. Okay, sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you were saying you were going to stay up together.
Well,
so,
regardless of what happens, the way you just told it is everything went well. So let's go with that.
Okay.
You did sleep, though. You did sleep.
Backtracking.
I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he did sleep, but we did have a conversation beforehand.
Okay, you did intend to sleep, but because of that feeling, maybe you just ended up staying up with Rapirus, even if Rapirus didn't realize you were staying up as well. But yeah, you get up. The sun actually comes up, and you know the sun is coming up because you can kind of see the glowing ball through the clouds and through the mist itself.
That's what she said.
Photosynthesis.
The group gets up, and everybody gets up and has, a little snack of something to eat. Things that Yokus can find that are safe to eat. Things that Shin or Arnoa have found.
Got it. Putting Yokus on the
that
bonfire.
are safe to eat. Where's it gonna go?
Sorry.
You know what's funny?
I
can put out that fire anytime you try to light it.
No, I'm feeling chicken. I'm feeling chicken today. It's okay.
Bring it on. I will kung fu you across this field.
You already dropped me once. Don't start.
Wouldn't it be Kung Pao chicken?
How tall is a Goliath?
6 foot. 6 something.
Okay,
What is
so
it?
It's like
how
7
did
to
a
8 feet.
5-foot bird pick you up?
Well,
It didn't.
currently
Well, apparently you
It
couldn't,
failed.
and that was the problem.
my characteristic still says that I am 4 feet tall.
Oh, well, you may want to fix that.
I
think you're about 7.5.
tall and about 350. Okay.
Well, a bird of prey can pick up things
Small
that are
child.
almost as large as they are and things like that. So it's not unusual that you could potentially pick up Gandium. It just, when you tried it the previous day, something didn't go right, and gravity won that fight.
And then he had a growth spurt. You don't know what happened. It was crazy.
He hit the ground so hard he grew 3 feet.
Hey, somebody needs to teach that
And a
trick.
changed race.
You worked out that kink in his back that was keeping him stunted.
Yeah. Straight up.
All right. So
I knew I should have been a massage therapist.
Uh-huh.
Ferris, there is something weird about this little unnatural grotto that you were standing in. While when you went out in the mist, every time when you kind of tried to stretch your wings or whatever, there would be like random winds, and nobody else would really feel it. It's something that you, as an Arakaka, know about how to fly and feel. You would feel
a shift in any kind of breeze. Yeah.
And you would feel that it was not safe to try to fly. But this morning when you wake up and you kind of stretch your wings out, you notice that breeze is kind of missing. Almost like something around here, like whatever was doing that to you to keep you from flying is not oppressing your wings and your ability to fly right now. Now, you don't know if you try to venture out over the mist. The mist goes about as high as you can figure out, as you can see naturally from the ground. And there are clouds and whatnot, and it's like what's not mist over you is a kind of a fog. But where you're standing right now in this little area, that wind isn't oppressing you at the moment. It may even be possible for you to go up and get your bearings and kind of get a read on how much closer you are to those statues and the like.
Yeah, I don't mind trying to stretch my wings out a little bit. I haven't flown in a hot minute, and quite frankly, they hurt.
Does anyone want to try to fly with her?
I'll flap my
Would,
hands.
but I don't know
just to
that
be a
spell.
Smart, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, while she
I just
starts
wanna
taking
taunt
off,
her.
I'll imitate the
taunt
flapping of my arms with.
I guess the rabbit is going to try and flap his ears.
Well, I didn't mean like you trying to actually fly with her.
He meant actually like get on my back and ride with me, not actually attempt to fly.
I want to taunt her so bad.
No, I see them like
T-pose for
forming
Dominic?
up. Like,
You're just over here like, did I join an Air Force? What happened?
Bubble 1, prepared for takeoff.
I don't know
Bubble
if
2,
Rachel
ready to
minded
fly.
Air Force so much as a loony bin.
So Ferris gets up and starts stretching her wings, and as she looks around and as the rest of the party is kind of getting up and looking around, you notice the other members of that group of 4 you met, Shin and Arnoa, you notice the other 4. Ferris gets up and starts stretching her wings, and it seems like the other 3, as she looks around and are stretching, seem to be imitating her or picking on her or the like. But after a moment or so, she just shoots straight up in the air. Super fast.
I take it she's
Ferris, as you climb, the higher you climb, you start noticing little shifts in the wind. It seems like it was safe to kind of fly up a good bit, but the higher you go, the riskier it's going to be. But as you get out, you actually do see the head of one of those tall statues, the one to the north. It is much closer. You're maybe only a couple miles from that statue. Underneath the statue is blocked by the fog and the mist below it and the like. But you can see the head sticking out. If you want to keep flying up further, you may be able to see if there's a line to the mist or whatever to see what's under it. But you are starting to feel the wind pick up, and the higher you go, the more at risk that if something does happen, it's a pretty long fall.
I think I'll just go a little bit higher.
Okay. So you climb up a little bit. You're looking. You do notice that it looks like the fog and even the mist way out to the north. You notice as you look down that the mist is cleared from on the ground. It looks like the mist is still fairly clear to the north of you, heading down that path the way you were going. For above you, you can tell that actually beyond regular sight from the ground, the mist actually is still there in front of you. But there's like almost like a pill shape in the mist that seems to be leaving a good bit of space ahead of your party that is open still, to give you room to move. And you go up, you do notice that where before you could just kind of see the head sticking out, you can kind of actually see that the statue itself, while you can't see the full body, you can kind of see the shoulders. And almost even with the shoulders, it looks like the statue is holding some sort of like staff or something. It's very ornate gold, and it's shining. There actually is a gleam coming off of it, which is strange because where you're at, a lot of the sunlight is blocked, but it looks like where the statue is, it is actually reflecting light off of the golden cover of it. The decoration of it is actually starting to kind of like gleam and almost kind of blind you a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna head back down and tell them what I see.
Okay.
Dude, there's some shiny shit over here.
That was great.
Good description. Good description. Anything else? You got anything else for us? Shiny shit? Is it like gold? Is it like beams of light?
I don't understand how reflective feces are relevant.
Statue, gold, shiny.
Oh, that makes
You gotta
sense.
remember,
Small,
she's
big.
part crow. She's attracted to shiny things.
Well, yes.
How far away?
Relatively.
From what you could tell, the head sticking out of there was only, maybe 4 or 5 miles north of you.
Oh.
So if we run, we could get there.
You want to
if
share
we
the
walk,
way the mist was around you
Yes.
with them? Okay.
I don't know how the mist works, but it was very funky around me.
Or we could not run and still get there, but get there more quietly.
right? So,
Gosh.
so the mist is in kind of a pill shape around our party then. I'm assuming is what
Yes.
she's
Yes, that's what
trying
I'm
to convey.
If you were to breakneck,
I got
if
distracted
you
by
were,
a
if you
4-year-old.
were to breakneck run and whatnot, given what she said, it shouldn't take you very long to get there. Then again, Shen, you know that sometimes what's seen one moment and what's seen later, the way the mist is concerned, sometimes aren't always the same truths.
Yeah.
So that more tends to happen to people who wander into the mist. But this is a very new experience, wandering through wilderness, being almost escorted by the mist.
Okay.
So
well,
this is not something you hear a lot of stories about. As far as you know, you're the only group that ever has seen to the mist showing these kind of properties as almost kind of hurting you a little bit, it seems like. Most people just either get swallowed by the mist and state they were there, it got swallowed by the mist, and they showed up somewhere else in your village or talked about it happening to them at some point in life, or people disappeared in the mist and were never seen again. The fact that the mist is kind of keeping open to you and letting you travel through a path that isn't a standard. Most of the roads have been built around where the mist tends to stay weaker and doesn't seem to go those, as far as what you know and what you've been told. So just wandering through the wilderness without the mist just collapsing on you is a very odd thing compared to what you know in your studies.
okay.
Are we breaking camp? I have a
I
mouse
think-
to feed.
I think that's what we're looking at. Let's see. I want to convey that, like, it being in a shape around us and not being clear as far as the whole path and being kind of hurting isn't a normal property of the mist. So, maybe that would explain how the three of us, looks around, the two of us were brought to your party. Maybe it's something a little more divine, but it's not something I've seen before. And after seeing that wonderful magic show previously, that's not really surprising me. Just because, yeah, that like after seeing all that, the lightning attacking the bubble, the gold beam piercing through the mist, the dragon. I'm kind of all out of surprise right now. Because it's one of those, like, I've been on this side of the Feywild for 20 years, and this is the most activity I've seen so far. With that being said, I definitely advise everybody to be cautious and say that if we don't keep moving forward, we may lose what little grace of the gods that may still be lingering around. And I'm not even the devout one.
All right, so does everybody agree with his assessment to break camp but be cautious?
Yes.
I am. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all head up cautiously. Break camp, start continuing to head north. Once again, Shin, your curiosity gets keeps you fascinated in what's going on with the mist, and you notice that as you're moving forward, the grotto where it had spread super wide and give you plenty of room to be comfortable, the mist kind of starts closing in from the sides back to where it was again, and the mist behind you is kind of filling in as your party moves forward. But still, as far forward as you can see through the woods, you don't really see any mist ahead of you. But based on what Ferris said, it sounded like it was pretty clear, pretty far forward of your party. The trees may be obstructing where the mist line is, but you haven't caught up to the front part of the mist yet. So your best assumption is the mist is moving with your party.
Okay. And I make a little note in a journal, like what I've seen, and so like, he seems to be keeping pace, date, time-ish. Very interesting.
As you're walking along, Gandium, you're keeping cautious. You are actually going along. You and your party have kind of gotten used to this. You're walking through this woods. You're heading north, and at this point, your whole party's kind of accepted the fact that especially with Shin's explanations of things based on his studies, you're definitely being herded. What's causing it, or why this thing is going on? The last time y'all were told anything about this mist was this dark entity that just swallowed everything and just didn't respect life and just destroyed everything its past. So this is very counter to what you were taught. At one point, you look out in the mist to your side, and just as Shin did before, it looks like a figure is walking along. The difference being is that the figure that Shin described seemed to almost kind of be like his shadow, like a copy of him. But the figure you see in the mist seems to be a figure of someone in a dress with longer hair. You actually can assume it looks closer to being a woman of some sort out in the mist, just outside of the mist in the thicker part of it. You can kind of see an outline, but other than that, she just seems to be walking along with you.
I don't want to say anything. I just want to keep walking.
Okay. Alrighty.
I want to leave that as is.
I just realized I wasn't following you.
I want to leave that as a I don't want to spook people for when I'm have a conversation with.
Would I have kind of caught Gamden's glances?
No, this seems to only be revealing itself to Gandium.
Okay.
And you do see him look out into the mist, but as far as you can tell, it looks like Gandium has picked up on some of what you've been saying in your lessons. To the best of your knowledge, it seems like Gandium is just kind of keeping an eye on where the border of the mist is to his side to make sure it's not closing in on him.
More being cautious and not actually giving any tells.
Right.
Okay.
Yandium seems to be pretty stone-faced about it, aside from just looking like he's being attentive.
All right.
All right, so you travel on. You're being very cautious. You're not moving at excellent speed, but you're making progress. It feels like you've been at least a couple of miles.
Mm-hmm.
When suddenly you look to the front of you, and where it's always been clear, you suddenly see, even through the darker, because it's even though it's kind of getting closer to the middle of the day, the light level really hasn't changed. It still kind of keeps that right at dusk and dawn, that level of twilight where it's not quite dark but not quite light. The only reason you even know the sun is out is because you could see the glowing ball that is the sun through the clouds, but it is a lot of the light still being obstructed by the mists and the fog that seem to just never leave. But using your dark vision, you actually do notice that ahead of you, you're starting to actually see the mist again in front of you. Like it's not as far ahead of you as it used to be.
Okay. Am I noticing it clearing out any on the sides? Like it wants us to go off this path, so to speak, like into a wood line or something of that nature?
No.
Okay.
It just seems like you have less of a open lead ahead of you than you had before.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to share that information with the others or if you want to keep it to yourself to keep from spooking them, but you do notice that with it you can see out there. Rapiros, you actually notice that you're seeing kind of like the mist ahead a little bit as well.
I'd definitely be trying to give guesstimates of distance between us and the mist, and so like as it starts getting closer, I'd be like, okay, it looks like it's, you know, however many feet in front of us now, in like maybe 5 foot increments. So it's like, okay, the mist seems to have been so and so feet away. Now it's at this.
Yeah, and you notice behind you, it's still keeping at that same pace as your party is moving forward. It's not really closing in on you from behind. It's still kind of keeping that same distance behind you.
Okay.
It just seems like it's giving you
less.
The bubble's closing, but it's not collapsing. If that makes any sense.
One of those. We're. If something's helping us move forward, it's having a harder and harder time pushing forward. Is what my immediate assumption would be, because it's already acting abnormal as it is. So whatever's causing us to be the center of this bubble, us pushing forward is becoming more and more difficult to do. At least in this particular area. And I kind of convey that. That's my current sentiment.
Ferris, as y'all are traveling along and Shin is explaining this, you kind of look out to your side, and now all of a sudden you see kind of this shadowy figure, and it doesn't have your wings. It's not a shadow of yours. It definitely isn't the same shape. And it's walking alongside of you, just outside into the deep mist, but close enough that you can kind of see the outline. And at one point, it even seems like a female figure kind of like walks up, taps it on the back, and then kind of falls back. But when she starts to fall back, she kind of disappears into the mist. So all that's left is the shadow of the male figure still kind of walking alongside you. What do you want to do with this information?
Well, that's creepy.
Do I hear her say that?
Did she say it out loud?
Yeah.
Or did she just think it herself?
I didn't say it out loud, but it's kind of like an under my breath kind of thing.
Yeah, you're close enough together. You hear her kind of like say something under her breath. You may not fully understand what she said because you were paying attention to the mist, but you hear her kind of like mumble under her breath a little bit.
What was that? Did you see something? Like being cautious but still kind of keeping pace.
If I did?
Yeah. Did you?
That's the thing. If I did. question? If I did see something?
Oh,
Do you
you're
want
not
to
quite
know?
sure? Yes.
Why? I'm like
Because
laser pointed looking at you now.
because any information is better than no information.
But you knowing this now versus you not knowing it now, what is the difference?
I mean, it could be the difference between life or death or saving breath. I mean,
Okay, there's some shadow people over here.
okay. See, that's important information.
Why is
Multiple?
Well, it was a dude, and then a girl come up and tapped him on the shoulder, and now the dude's just there by himself.
I decided to speak up
he's-
about what I saw.
Yeah, and he's still walking alongside you, Ferris.
Oh, hey, he's still there.
Would we be able to see it now?
You're kind of far away. The way the mist is, it's not really working. Like it may be the angle, or it may be that something is particularly focused on her that she can see right now. You're having trouble seeing it. Although, the more you pay attention to the mist, the more you notice that it seems like the way the light is moving through the mist it's refracting in a way that doesn't look like it should be doing that for just being, even the way the mist normally looks. There's more activity between light and shadow and the main bulk of the mist itself than there usually is on any time you've studied it.
Okay. Well, we're dealing with people. Or at least shadowy figures of people.
Ferris, the shadow beside you, while he's figuring things out, the shadow figure just kind of stops and immediately puts its hand up, and you can see clearly in the look at its hand, it actually like lifts its hand up like it's telling you to stop.
It's telling me to stop. Should I stop? I feel like I should.
If somebody's able to
I stop.
traverse the mist, yeah. I would.
Does the party
say
stop, or just Ferris and Shin?
I stop.
I suggest having a circle formation with everybody looking out.
Circle the wagons.
Basically.
So you stop, and that the mist at the front that was way out, you suddenly realize a lot less space is there. Like before, when Exodus and Arnoa first showed up with you, Shin, the mist kind of like flows through in front, and actually where Ferris was right before she was told to stop, and you told everybody to kind of pull back. Had she kept going at her pace, she probably would have been dead in line for that as it came through. As it comes through, you hear roaring and different kind of like creatures going through, but then when it passes all the way through, there's nothing there, and then once again you're left with an open path in front of you.
I look back to the mist. Do I see that same figure?
You see something. You can't tell if it's the figure or whatnot, but you see a shadow that's kind of like dissipating into the mist.
In Elvish, I'm going to say many thanks.
Behind you on the other side, you actually hear back in Elvish come through. Keep your friends safe.
I look over my shoulder and respond. Always the intention.
So when you finish that statement, the mist in front of you actually gets blasted out. And now the whole party can see that you're only actually maybe a couple 100 feet from the wall of a city. You can't see any kind of entrance to this wall, but you are definitely at the stone walls of a city. It is still very dark outside. I'll be posting the picture.
Speak friend, then enter.
So in the stage chat, there is a picture to kind of give you a sense of what this city looks like. If I can find the right file. There it is.
Oh,
Nope,
my
that's
jaw
the wrong
hurts.
file. Go. and to give credit for this person, the picture of the city, for those of you who are listening, if you'd like to see the image I am sharing with them, if you're in the Darkness Discord, you can go to the stage chat and see it. But to give full credit to the artist who did it, this is a wonderful rendition of the same image that I see of the city that I want to convey to my players. It was done by a Chris C. on Pinterest. A wonderful artist. I highly suggest you go check out their artwork. That's very dreary, kind of Dark Soulsy. But the overall aesthetic of the wall, as you move forward and around and kind of follow it, you eventually come to a break in the wall where it looks like at one point there was a heavy door of types that would have barricaded you from getting in, but now there's kind of a path that leads into the city, and when you come around, you look in, this is the kind of view you see. Except for one major addition, up at the top of the hill where the castle is, it's almost like there's rays of sunshine that are breaking through the clouds above and hitting just to the outside walls of the castle up on the hill. And that statue that Ferris saw towers from behind that castle, high up into the sky.
Do we see people?
You don't actually see anybody at the moment.
Are there lights on?
There are lights on in some of the houses, and there are lights in the streets, but you just don't see a lot of people.
Is there
Okay, so we're in Bloodborne. No.
We're in Bloodborne.
Is there a local? Can I ask this question? Can we traverse enough to be able to find a tavern or like an inn or something that we can have a conversation with, like a barkeep?
But as you walk into the town or into the city itself, you notice a lot of the houses that you passed by seem to kind of be abandoned. Some of them look like they're lived in, and the ones that are lived in are in top shape. They look like they're very much cared for. The ones that don't look like they're in shape and they're kind of abandoned, they look like nobody's lived in them forever. They're not really falling apart or anything. It looks like someone's taking care of them to keep them up and running, but there's no one living in them. You do actually come across a sign at one point, and it doesn't actually have words. It just has, at one point, one of the pictures has like a beer flagon with an arrow pointing a direction, and then like a trade stand on the bottom of the arrow with the flagon above the arrow. And then there's what looks like a place where another sign was hanging at one point, but it's been like knocked over and kind of destroyed. But you do see that there is a direction heading towards a type of inn or tavern or something, as well as the main trade hub for the city seems to be going down the main road that you just entered.
Okay.
Real quick, I'm going to take a pause. I have to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
All right. I think that's
After these
as
messages.
good as time is it?
Hello, Burn Stream. I just want to tell you all that you have a very talented broadcaster. Not only the way he tells it. Hello, Elvin Stream. All you beautiful people. Don't talk to him. I love his beard.
Oi!
Oi! Hello,
Oi!
Bones. Hello, Bones of Stream. You have a fantastic broadcaster as well, who is also juggling the part of being mommy and being a streamer right now, and she is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And then there's Jade. All right, we'll move on.
Okay, I'm putting down all
Rude!
of your people's faces.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not picking on Jade intentionally.
Not at all.
I was
Not
gonna
at all.
say, gee, Cyrus, you brat.
I love it. I mean, you are deaf, so you can't hear any of this anyway.
My character's deaf.
Oh, so this is Gandium breaking the fourth wall.
Ganyan
Essentially.
breaking the fourth wall.
Okay, Deadpool.
You also have Lone, who has streamed more probably in the last month than I have in the last like 4 months. Guys on
Oh,
a grind.
Loney.
Guys on a
Trying to
grind.
get into it.
Lord.
GG's, bro.
Well,
It's not-
I
it's not ready,
actually took your advice there, Sai, and I messaged Lone, and so not only is he advocating for me, I'm also advocating for him and basically we're lighting fires under each other, to
Good.
do more than just Twitch streaming. So,
Good. Accountability partners. They're huge.
Be
That's
right
awesome.
back.
Besides,
Alright,
for
I
of
am
course
back.
being brother
We-
and
we
sister,
are,
so.
We are trying to actually, do more stuff, more than just Twitch. Like, I'm going to be uploading all these D&D videos to YouTube.
Yeah,
Good.
I've already started like the last stream that I did. Well, not yesterday's. I'll get to that editing that later. But I have edited down quite a few videos actually, ranging from 6 minutes to 10 minutes long. Of the last stream that I did with Elvin when we were trying out this game called Son of a Witch. So that has been my first video actually posted Wednesday at noon, so
That's awesome.
I think that's today.
I'm going to take a quick moment to get some more water.
Good.
Yeah, so
Making moves. That's what matters.
yeah. Elvin
good for you.
did
Good for
step
y'all.
out to go to the
I don't know
bathroom
if I got heard or not.
because I don't think he heard after Burn said he was back, so
That's fine. That's fine.
By the way,
I
that
didn't
game
wanna
y'all were
interrupt.
playing, you and Elvin were playing when you were waiting for Burn to come back the other night.
mm-hmm.
I can't remember. It was 2D.
Okay, I'm gonna be back.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, that was that's the game I'm talking about. It was the
Son of a witch.
Yeah, that was Son of a Witch, and
It
I
was
actually
so fun to watch, honestly.
I got it from Daredrop. It's a second or third party or whatever that I take dares from game publishers that I can like choose which dare to do, and then they send me a game key, and then I go and try and complete that dare within like 25 days time span. So,
Wow.
and then I have to upload that highlight showing that I did that I completed it to them, and then they'll give me, like, say the reward for that dare was either another copy of that game or a copy of another game. So,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
That's a really neat. That's a way to promote games. I mean,
That's a good way to get your name out as a publisher
Yeah.
or a small indie developer.
Some indie
That's
stuff, yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, like I
That was
really
a fun
love
game,
doing that.
though. I mean, it looked passive enough to like enjoy, but active enough to keep you going.
Oh yeah, like Elvin. I remember in some parts that I had used some items, and Elvin was role playing, like having his character glare at mine. He's like, "You did this. I don't."
I am back.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Alright, I think Jay needs to step away for a moment, and then we'll.
Okay.
No, Bones.
Everybody's taking
Bones
a moment.
stepped.
Oh,
Bones
Bones
stepped
stepped
out.
away. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you and Bones sounded really like there for a second. So.
Oh my goodness.
Collins was impersonating you again.
Such a
That's what it was.
such a sexist thing to say, Bird.
Okay.
Burn!
Whoa,
Burn!
whoa,
Burn!
okay.
Whoa, burn!
Burn.
All you females sound the same.
Burn.
Just wine, ring.
After Burn. I appreciate it. Okay. I appreciate you telling me that that your sister sounds like me. But
Whoa. Okay.
I'm not your sister. I'm a good enough friend to be considered your sister, but I'm not
I
your
mean,
sister.
now there's Bones, but I mean, close enough to be, I guess.
I was gonna say, if Afterburn's your brother, does that make him my brother too?
For thinking about
Brother
that
from
way.
another mother. Yeah.
This is just one big orgy at this point.
Gross!
No, it's a reunion. It's a reunion. It's not an orgy.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
In Alabama, though.
All right, so
No.
Bones has stepped away for a moment, but this isn't going to
Shit.
affect her real quick since we have everybody else back here real quick. So I want to do two things first. I know you are still here, right? Like you have your mic connected and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Want to make sure. So as everybody's heading into the group, Arnoa, you kind of get a weird feeling to check behind you. It's not necessarily a threatening one, but you do get a feeling. You turn back around, and right on the edge of the mist, you see a man about Shin's height and it looks like he is elf, full-blood elf, from best you can tell.
Oh, the
and he's
character
got
shin, not my shin.
Yes.
Because that'd be really short.
Yeah. You look back towards the mist where you just exited out, and you see this elf, and then also a woman standing beside him, and they're both looking at you. They both kind of have a smirk. It's not a aggressive or threatening style smirk. It looks like they're
Welcome back.
truly happy that you made it to the safety of the town. And the woman kind of blows a kiss at you, and the elf kind of bows his head, and they kind of turn around and walk back into the mist and just kind of disappear.
What did I miss?
Well, that was.
He just did a reaction for Armin.
Okay.
Do you know your parents?
No.
Oh.
No, do you?
Wait. What?
That was the best reaction ever.
Wait, what?
It's okay, Buns. We know that you hatched from an egg in the middle of nowhere. It's fine.
Yeah.
Who's your daddy and what does he do? I don't know.
I don't know.
So the thing about this is that
Neither of these characters look like you or your sister. You don't feel like you have any familial ties to them.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
well, because Arnoa and his sister are, both kind of fuzzy as to their origins. All they can remember was popping up in that village a handful of months ago. So prior to that, it's kind of a blank.
So what did the shadow people say?
I didn't say anything. One of them blew me a kiss, which was kind of awkward.
No, technically, they did speak. Because I responded in Elvish. Did anybody know Elvish?
Well, yes.
Well, I mean,
I
technically.
sure hope so.
Jade's character probably would.
Your parents couldn't hear it to know.
Bro,
if
you
it
can't
was
hear
really
anything.
speaking Elvish.
That's true.
You can't hear anything anyway. Don't even start.
Hence why I said technically I know Elvish, and I could
Yeah.
hear and speak it before I became deaf.
But you wouldn't
The
have been
other
able to
person
hear.
was
No.
probably Arnoa.
Unless anybody else knows Elvish.
I don't know
Same.
Elvish.
Are you speaking giant?
No, sorry. I only know Abyssal, Draconic, and Elvish.
Smashy meat.
Oh, and Common. Sorry.
Smash.
Yokus only
That's
knows
how you
the
do
language of his, the original language of his people.
Which is food.
No.
Emergency rations.
Yokas, come speak to this burger. We need to know the language of food.
Yeah, I've got
Dude.
Elvish, Sylvan, and sign language.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So,
Sylvan, Dwarvish, and Common.
Arakokra, Aryan, and Common.
Arakakara.
Arakakara.
Got it.
Arakakara.
He speaks the Ara.
So when I want to trash talk the bird lady, depending on who I'm talking to, I can do it in several different languages.
Right.
He can even sign it, and the only one who's going to know it's a curse word is Rapiros and Gandium.
I
Right?
gotta say it's flat.
Oh, I can speak the language of elemental plane of air.
What?
Nice.
Cool.
Does this mean you're
You
a
know
little
what- you know-
airheaded?
Yeah, she's discovering things about herself even she didn't know.
Means, right?
She's airheaded. It's fine.
You know what? You understand what that basically means, right?
No.
You can speak bird.
I can speak bird.
Aw.
Alright,
place
so
where there's
we're
no
all in the
birds.
village.
So
Sorry.
now we're in the village. So here's what I want to do. So Arnoa
Nobody-
turns around to see that.
Yokai doesn't see it.
No.
Or Yokus.
No one. So even if you do a perception check, no one else saw it. Only Arnoa saw it.
How much?
Actually, no. I wasn't rolling to see the ghosts. I was rolling to see if I can hear
Saw him.
blacksmith.
Oh.
Where's the
Guess
blacksmith?
Actually, Okay, hold on. So I just didn't
Walks
roll
into
for
town.
whatever.
Where can I buy a
So-
sniper rifle?
So you weren't trying to perception if that you were kind of percepting your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Okay.
thinking.
So you're percepting your surroundings, and your group is kind of walking forward. Arnoa kind of hung back for a second and saw that, and then just kind of like caught back up with the group. But Yokus, you realize on trying to kind of perceive and kind of figure out where you're going, you realize somebody in your group is missing, and I don't mean Exodus. After kind of getting a head count, you realize Ferris is not with the group.
Damn.
That's why I was kind of doing this while Ferris was gone to the restroom, but we'll do this now. So.
Where's the Kung Pao Blaziken?
Blaziken already knows fighting moves. You don't have to add the Kung Pao.
I like the Kung Fu Chicken better.
Yeah, Kung Fu Chicken
Fine.
fits.
Where's the Kung Fu Chicken?
And I should be highly insulted. Where is the Kung Fu
It's
Chicken?
okay. It's okay. You can't hear it anyway at the moment.
Oh,
Somebody throw some seeds out. Somebody throw some seeds out.
You guys are all asses.
I look up. Like,
I look up. Nice.
Wait, somebody asked for seeds? Give me a second.
like, where'd the one who can fly go?
Looks up.
You're where you're standing at, even though you can't hear anything. The hair on your arms and on your neck, what little bit there is for elves, your senses are going off. You feel like there's danger nearby, and the fact that Ferris isn't accounted for, you feel like it's tied somehow to that.
So, should I be rolling something?
No. You just need to know what you want to do with that information. If you want to begin searching, or if you want to just keep walking down the street heading towards the tavern, or what y'all want to do.
Maybe whistle.
I mean,
Get attention.
Congratulations, Ferris. You can hide from anything. Granted, you're not with the group, so maybe hiding from your group may not be the best thing to be doing.
I just wanted to see what it would do with a +5.
She's over here like, I'm playing hide and seek. I'm gonna be champion.
I kind of want
Congratulations, you won the Bin Laden Award.
to.
Wow.
I kind of want to like. Who's closest to me? Is it the rabbit?
Yes.
All right. Well, I kind of want to tug on his ear, and then like flap my wings to let him know that our bird person isn't here.
Oh my god, I can see that.
And
I literally see Jake really reach over. It's not like a tug on his ear. It's like she takes one ear and just like rips it over to and looks at him and goes,
and like, cause like I do have my webcam on, so I literally tug on his ear, and then I go like I flap my arms to like kind of signal that our bird person isn't here, and then I put my hand over my eyes to like
Look for him.
look for the bird.
look for the bird.
So I'm definitely gonna want to search for said bird.
I after you yank on my ear, I Yokus just reaches up and like pulls his ear like ow, while looking at you.
While you flap your arms, looking like a very silly person.
I mean,
Shin, you don't notice anything overtly, but you do notice is bird the word? Sorry, I just saw that in my chat.
Bird in Elvish.
love it, Bo.
You do notice that there is like a kind of a water pot near one of the houses off near the leading into an alleyway.
Mm-hmm.
That the pot has spilled and the water's kind of coming out, and the distance from the pot means it was spilled very recently. Heading into an alleyway off on your left.
Was our friend close to that alleyway in our like little formation typically?
She was walking on the left side.
Okay. I point at the pot and mention that that looks like it happened recently. Does anybody else want to check this alley with me?
Okay, I have a passive investigation of 15.
Same.
Just roll. Okay, 15 was nope. 17 was better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you you come to the same conclusion. Even when you're looking at it, you can actually kind of see bird footprints in the water, and then wet bird footprints leading down into the alley.
Okay. I want to take this time to cast Mage Armor on myself, just in case.
Weird flex, but you do you, boo. No, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you do have Mage Armor equipped, so yes, you have it. I have no disagreements with that.
What the fuck is
And,
that?
So who all's heading into the alleyway to look for your
I am.
Kung Pao chicken? Okay.
I'd like to push forward. I would like to take point if possible.
I will absolutely let you take point, big man.
This is
So-
a scarily narrow alley.
Yep.
I'm guessing.
There's enough room for 3 of you to walk side by side in it. These houses are actually spread pretty far apart, even though they're kind of in a city. There's quite a few houses. You maybe see a light. You see more lights kind of towards the center of the city. There aren't as many lights and windows here on the edge. But just from what you can see, it looks like maybe 1 out of every 3 houses on average have a light.
Okay.
But the houses you're going through, there is no one in them. There's no lights in them. The alleyway, the mist has actually kind of crept over the wall and is at your ankle level here. It wasn't actually on the main road, but when you go into the alleyway, the mist is kind of like spreading out throughout the alleyway to about ankle height here.
Okay. So I do want to make a note that I am going to be with Gandium at the head of the party going into the alleyway as well.
Okay.
I can fight still.
No problem. Okay.
I'll be I'll leave a 5-foot space between the 3 of us, I guess, and take second in that marching order.
Okay.
I'm in the mist.
I'll take up rear guard to make sure we're not ambushed from behind.
Okay.
All right. So you're walking through this alleyway. Gendium, you're actually, even though Rapiris is kind of like right there beside you, you're still kind of taking point and being the shield. You're actually the first one to see it. When you walk around the corner behind this building, it's still in an alleyway. You're still not quite to the wall yet. But you see Ferris standing there in the alleyway. She actually has her dagger drawn, but she's just standing there. Like, there's nothing else in the alleyway with her. Her dagger's drawn, and she's just standing there. Like, she was in a fight, but there's no opponents near her. You didn't hear anybody, you didn't see anybody. But she's standing there like she was recently fighting something or someone.
Losing, apparently.
I want to pull my weapon and just to get the understanding of what's happening.
What you doing, buddy?
Yeah.
Ferris, you kind of, when he calls out to you, you don't really know what was running through your head. As far as you knew, you were walking with the group, and then suddenly Gandium's behind you. You're in an alleyway behind one of the houses with your dagger drawn, but everything's fine to you. You were on the road with the rest of the group.
I was walking with y'all. Why?
Because you were behind me, and now I see you around the corner.
One of those. We tracked you down a little ways. This is in an alleyway, like off the beaten path.
Guys, I was just with you.
That's what's got us a little spooked. It's been, what, a minute or two now? Since we started trying to find you?
Yeah.
Let's get back to the path.
And why do you have your weapon drawn?
Because it's pretty.
Uh-huh.
Do I sense anything off about
No.
our bird?
Nope.
Our bird.
As far as you could tell, aside from just kind of having a dingbat moment, you don't feel anything off. Like, the fact that she seems to not know what's going on seems strange, but you're not getting any kind of sense of anything special going on. As you're all standing there trying to figure out what happened to her, you hear a voice behind you coming down the alleyway. Arno actually sees it. It seems to be like a town guard. He's not in like heavy armor. He's more in like leather armors, and he has a sword in a hilt, but he's not having it drawn. And he's just like, "Hey, what y'all folks doing down here? Not really a whole lot of people in this area. Are you looking to buy one of these houses or something?"
Question. As soon as he gets done, can I have my instrument out and just start randomly playing the song just to make it seem like I'm just playing music for these guys?
I want to intimidate the person.
God damn it.
You want to intimidate the town guard that comes walking up? Okay, go ahead. Roll for intimidation. Let's see.
Well,
What are you doing here?
Jesus.
So,
with my
What the hell is it you?
with my doing.
So as she's pulling out
like,
her
music.
instrument and she's trying to like
Play it off.
convince him that everything's fine, Ganyam just kind of pushes his way through, just
Get it out of the way.
full of mountain man giant rage, and just stands right in front of the guard. And the guard just kind of stops immediately in his tracks. It kind of turns a little bit pale, and no, you don't. Ganyam, you're not quite sure, but you almost feel like you suddenly hear running water, but you're not 100% sure. It's really faint.
Can I smell something different?
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a different odor in the alleyway than there was a few seconds ago.
I smell asparagus.
I wanna badger him with the 5 whys. Like, where are we? What is this place? Tell us about the castle, the statue, everything.
No problem, sir. I was just checking to make sure you were okay. Welcome to the city of Morena. I'm not used to seeing people in the alleyways. I want to make sure nobody was hurt or even
I interrupt his stuttering. I walk up to Cambion
and say, thank you. Take a breath. Maybe wash the piss off your leg, and let's start over.
So when you do that, he just kind of like his legs go all like spaghetti for a second. He just kind of like falls down for a second, and he puts his hand down on the ground, and he kind of collects his breath. He stands back up. He goes, "Okay, yeah, sorry. When you came charging at me, I was fairly certain that I was gonna be the talk of the town tomorrow at the down at the inn because I was sure I was gonna be a body that was gonna be found. Yeah, we just you're in the city of Morena. Welcome. We're very inviting. This is the.
We noticed the door.
The door?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The lack thereof.
Yes. So, okay. The captain of the guard thinks we should be more secure, but Duke Geyer, he's the Duke of our city. He is all about making sure people feel welcome, and this is a safe place. For some reason, the mist. This started off as a smaller village, and as the mist didn't close in, it kind of became this place of safety. And even though the weather here isn't exactly ideal, it's a safe place where anyone can come to, and it's just you kind of caught me off guard because most people who come here see it as kind of like this safe place, and you came charging at me like we had declared war on your village or something.
Well, let me explain myself. From where we are from a small village that is surrounded by a bubble that you might not have ever even known of. Who we've met other people. We've been followed. What we feel has been followed by people coming here, and we also were tracked by a dragon, which I'm not sure if you know anything about. Let's just say we're all a little on edge.
The guard just kind of stares at you for a second and kind of blinks his eyes. And he sees that you're playing an instrument. And he looks back at you. And he just digs a big sigh of relief. And he just looks... Oh, I am so glad that the traveling circuses are back in. The kids will love to see. I can only imagine with an Arakara and many elves. I'm sure many of you have magical talents and a traveling lunch box. Anyway, and then of course,
what did you call me?
The strong man.
Pick up the rabbit so he doesn't really, try to do fireball again.
Yeah.
Quiet food.
But
start swinging around again like, oh, let me at him. Even though I'm being held.
I'm sorry, I know you're a rabbit, but all I see is Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy.
all I'm seeing is Ed.
Oh god.
All right, back to character. I'm breaking character.
Sorry.
Okay, so he's laughing and he goes, honestly, when you came charging at me, I thought this man is going to snap my neck. I did not know that you were the bard of the group, the storyteller. Dragons and protected city. The legends are wonderful and the children love them, but no one believes in the tales of the protected city. It's something we tell children so they don't ever have to believe that the mist will come and get them in the night. It's a lovely thing to see wonderful people still telling that story and passing it off and giving hope even to lowly guards who know that it's a bedtime story.
Can I interrupt him?
Yes.
I wanted to interrupt.
I clutch my axe and hit it on the ground, and I say, "Do I look like a bard?" He, the man that doesn't speak, is about to play a freaking instrument. What am I? I'm not a bard. I'm only speaking of what we've experienced. And if you don't understand or believe us, or offer us some kind of advice or inspiration as to what is happening, we're going to have to move on and find the answers ourselves in the ways that we find and see fit.
He looks completely confused and he looks around at your party. He's like, I meant no offense, sir. When you came charging, very fanciful. This man is going to stab my neck.
Wait. So who's holding Yokus right now?
Me.
Okay, can I bap Ferris's hand to let go of me? And then I'm gonna jump up onto Gandium's shoulder and kind of cover his mouth and be like, "Hey, this is our manager, and he's just had a really bad day. Can you just point us in the direction of the inn?"
Oh, and you speak too. Oh, the children will love you.
Yes.
I got animal handling.
God damn it!
I do too.
Yes, I am the
animal.
The petting zoo that they bring along.
Thank you, Echo. Thank you.
No. I'm gonna. Oh. No, never mind. I had an idea, but it was.
So Yokus' plan does or doesn't go through because.
Yeah, I don't know because somebody rolled something that shouldn't have rolled.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm going to
That's up to Ferris, really.
As the game master here. While animal handling would normally work, Yokus is not a standard domesticated or even a type of wild animal he is technically a sentient being, and therefore your normal attempts at being able to convince an animal of lesser intelligence to do what you want or partner with you may not have the same effects on a sentient civilized creature such as a Haragon.
I think you meant to roll a grappling check. I think that's what.
And she's also a bird, so that's
Hi,
just...
Echo. How's it going?
It just suddenly shoots up in the air
Thanks,
before
Cyrus.
This whole,
Let's
Oh,
go.
no, wait, no.
thing right
Cyrus
here
isn't
is-
our manager. He's
Shut
our
up.
he's our guard or bodyguard or whatever. And
He's the strong man.
Shin,
That's what the
yeah,
cards
he's the strong
say.
man. And Shin is the manager.
Okay.
He's just saying that because I look bookish. That's what it
I'm
is.
just dying.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
all
the one who's in charge
reactions
of
So
finances.
far with, like,
He's just
picking
mad
me
because I've
and
told him he's food.
Bones. Just picking up on.
So yes,
Sometimes
guard,
times
can you
because
escort
they're-
us to the
it's
inn,
So
please?
fucking funny. And then everybody else.
There's
just
no
thinks
problem,
that
little
he's
one.
a
Just follow me.
emergency
It's
reaction.
just right down the
An
street.
Emergency reaction.
I'm sure
It's
that,
so funny.
I'm sure that Lady Monroe is going to be absolutely delighted to see your.
Huh?
She's excited when normal new people come by, but you seem like you have stories that would even keep her up all night asking for more tales of your adventures.
Yes.
And with that, he just turns around and kind of walks off down. You kind of hear him chuckling to himself, and you just kind of hear him, like, under his breath go, "This is such an interesting day. I went from thinking I was dead to meeting a circus."
Cyrus, does your character know Dwarvish?
No.
He still smells
I'm-
like piss.
I'm
No.
a Goliath.
He knows giant and common.
And sign.
Okay. What do I roll to whisper?
I'm not even going to make you roll. You're sitting on his shoulder last I knew. You should be able to whisper to him pretty good.
Okay, I whisper into his ear. We don't know these people, and we should not tell them about where we're from. We don't even know if this place is safe.
Have you realized that there hasn't been a safe place since we've crossed the boundary?
Safe is in short supply.
I suggest.
And we were
I
told
suggest
that no
you-
one lived outside the boundary, and yet here's people. We should not tell them where we're from.
So you're telling me that you want to trust the people that we'd never have met, don't understand?
No, I'm just saying don't divulge information that doesn't need to be divulged.
All I'm saying is, Puffy boy, keep a knife or something close.
To yourself, not any of the rest of us, please.
Right, yeah, so I jump from his shoulder back to Roperos' shoulder.
Ferris is nice to me.
Yeah.
After
Okay,
I,
the last campaign, I had some little gremlin sitting in a little fanny pack on my chest the whole time.
You just get all sorts of unwanted passengers, don't you?
That's so
I don't have this problem.
Oh my god.
I don't play strength characters. It helps.
Yeah.
All right, so at this point, the guard has kind of like gotten down to the end of the alleyway, and he
Oh
looks
my
back
God.
and he just kind of looks back at your group and he goes, "It's just this way if you're thirsty. I mean, I don't mind standing here. I'm going to be standing here later today anyway, but I figured you must be thirsty from your travels."
Very.
Yeah.
Can
I'm
I
gonna-
Sounds good
I'm gonna
enough to me.
follow him.
I think I'm gonna sign to
The group.
What's up, bro?
yeah, Cyrus
Gandium?
is Gandium. Sorry, I forgot your name for a second there. I'm gonna sign to Gandium to have him tell the guard to make sure to take a shower. He smells like asparagus.
I tell him he smells like poop, okay?
Okay.
But not poop. I tell him he smells like pee.
Okay.
So as you're signing to Gandy, as you finish it and you're getting ready to turn around, just real quick, you notice that one of the storm drains near the bottom of the wall behind, you can kind of see it down the alleyway. The wall isn't directly up at you. You still have another few houses between, but the alleyway kind of goes straight all the way down to the wall. you're not sure, but it looks like one of the storm drains kind of like shifts, like it was lifted up and then dropped quickly
to the character Gandium.
Behind Gandium down the way. You just happen to notice it over his shoulder as you go. It could be rats or whatever, but I just wanted you to notice that you were facing the right way for it.
Can I use my already made intimidation on the guy and tell him to jump in the hole?
The guard?
Gandium is our barbarian.
Yeah.
And
Lord.
He's already like walked around the corner with a few members of the party heading
that
towards
was
you.
half a joke and half if you did it I would be so happy.
He wasn't born that way, so he doesn't know how
I
to
think
speak.
he's gotten over his intimidation.
Like,
Because we decided.
He's deaf.
From thinking you were gonna kill him to thinking y'all are all a traveling circus, he's not really intimidated. He's more like looking forward to what your next show is gonna be.
Should I roll again?
We're not scary. We're the new village idiots.
Apparently. Okay, let's go to the end.
All right. So you travel back to
So,
the main road.
Me being I'm talking
And,
to you guys. I'm muted in Discord.
It
I
only takes a few
apologize,
minutes for you to head down. You
I'm
actually get to a
muted in
major
Discord
trade
right
center.
now.
Shin, you notice that the overall layout of the way the trade
The character Gandium
market
and
is
I both serve
actually is
as,
very familiar to the village you've been in for the last 20 years.
met each other, so we're
Whether this
familiar
is
with each other.
intentional, if this is just how trade works
We
in
both
all
know how to communicate
towns,
together
even down to what
since,
merchants sell
I
what
got injured
around everything
while
from
in
like
the
clothing and
and became
food
deaf.
and
So
you know
we
jewelry
both
and the
know how to
like.
sign
It
to
seems
each
like
other.
every vendor is in the same place they were in your village. Maybe it's just the efficient way that people do it,
He's
or what. But
well,
since you've never really traveled outside of your village, it's just one of those interesting
type it
quirks
up.
that you notice. That the trade market seems to be set up almost identical to your home's trade market. However, there are a lot more stalls, so instead of it just being one person selling like a standard blue shirt or whatever, like there's like 4 or 5 stalls with different styles and different clothing styles and things like that. Jewelry, there's multiple jewelry makers. There's a couple blacksmiths making like little statues and things like that. Several of them actually have like small scale statues of the statue behind Duke Geyer's castle.
Okay. So like the traders are in like the same quadrant of this little circle, but they're not. There's just more of them.
Yes. Whether that's just sheer coincidence or you know.
Quick question. I have the urchin background, which means I have a feature called City Secrets.
Mm-hmm.
I know the secret patterns and flow to cities and can find passageways through the urban sprawl that others would miss.
Okay.
Just throwing that
Would you
out
like to
there.
do a perception check to see if you notice anything out of the ordinary, any kind of like hidden little thing? Okay, do your perception check. We're gonna do this on your urchin. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, as you're looking around, you notice that all throughout the trade square, and even some places that you can see, there are manholes, there's storm drains, and there's like quick ways, not that you are really trying to do it or anything, but were you to say grab something off a stall and take off with it, there's more than quite a few options of places to just dive in and escape from all groups if you knew to look for those areas. It seems like you could just kind of move freely throughout the city without being hindered if you needed to make a run for something. There's plenty of different passageways and alleyways and manholes to get into an underground system. You assume it's kind of like a sewer system. Many cities that you had studied about and read about, and things that your village elders had told you back when civilizations had much larger cities, there were ways of moving waste and stuff out of the cities without putting it in the streets for people that had been developed by, you know, wise people. And you're seeing some of those systems in play here.
So you mean there's not a subway system between the big
there's
city
not a
outside of
subway
each of the
system.
statues? Okay,
Yes, no, there's
dang.
not a subway system. I missaid. That was my fault. I
figured if we could go under the
not a
fog.
subway system.
So, can I ask the guard?
Big difference.
I want to
So-
ask the guard, does he have, while he's, I'm assuming we're still walking.
Yes,
So
you're
the
still
question
behind
would
him.
the question would be to him is, do you have a problem with looting? And yeah, but just start with that. You have a problem with looting, stealing?
Looting. Nobody here loots. What are you gonna do? Steal a piece of jewelry and run out into the fog? You're better off with whoever you stole the jewelry from. We're peaceful here. Most of us know each other. Most of us are on first name basis. If anybody was up to something, it'd be pretty quick to know who was causing it.
And what about the sewer system? How maintained is your sewer system?
Oh, there's Dude Gaia has old books of the old ways that what things have done, and he followed some of the blueprints. Actually got it to work pretty well. The whole system works on a downhill slope and actually heads off under the castle. There's a river out behind there, and it leads away from the city, so we don't have to deal with any of the material infesting our drinking water or anything. It actually leads out. It leads out into the mist, so we don't know if it goes to an ocean or if we're unfortunately polluting someone else's drinking water, but we've never had anyone come here asking for us to stop, so we just keep having it go the way it goes. But it's connected to every house here in the city.
After we go to the inn, is it possible for us to visit the castle?
Yes, Duke Gaia loves to see any visitor who comes by. We've often hoped that we can fill many of these houses. They've been built and just not filled. Sometimes the city feels, I don't know, lonely. Be nice to have people fill in some of these houses. Honestly, the last couple of people who moved in didn't even have to pay for them.
Interesting.
I don't have anything else to ask him.
I guess I gotta get to making more kids. I don't know what to tell them.
Anybody have anything they want to ask before we get to the inn?
You are getting you actually do see from the trade district, the inn/tavern is actually at the very back of the trade circle at the center of town. Actually in almost the exact same place it was in your town, Shin. It's the layout of the center of the town is almost identical to your village now that you look at it, even down to some people's houses, some of the way the tavern is, the way the market square is. It almost looks like your village just blown up to a much larger scale with more and more houses and a wider, instead of wooden fences, these are large stone walls that surround this city.
Somebody upgraded
It's
the town hall.
Either very peculiar. It definitely seems to be done on purpose. I kind of take all that in and just kind of set it in my notes, write it down, and for now I leave it at that.
Okay. You get into the inn, and Lady Miriam is actually behind the bar, and you only know that is her name because that's how the guard addresses her when he walks in. And he tells you, "There you go, but if you're gonna keep telling stories like that and bringing smiles to people's faces, I don't suggest you start with that until after she started drinking. Otherwise, she'll want you playing music and telling stories to every patron that comes in for the next month and a half or so. She loves entertainment, and it gets people drinking more and they spend more, and she'll never let you go. Other than that, enjoy yourselves, enjoy the hospitality, and when you're ready to go see Duke Gaia, if it's too late because you've been drinking all night, Lady Miriam can set you up with a place to sleep until the morning, and you can ask any town guard and they'll be glad to take you up there to see him. And if you don't drink yourself through the night and I'm still on watch, well, you know where to find me. I'll be back near the alleyway where y'all were skulking around earlier. Or exploring. Not skulking. Exploring. But at your leisure, sir." And he just kind of stands at attention for a second and then heads back out towards the front door. The tavern is not full, but there are about 7 or 8 people in. There's laughter coming from a corner. There's people just kind of sitting at the bar, drinking, minding their own business. There's a couple people at some of the tables. There's a card game going on in the corner between 3 gentlemen.
I want to step back outside and stand right outside the door.
You just want to step outside the door and...
Not like guard the door. I just don't want to be inside. I want to stand outside.
Okay. So Gandium goes and actually exits the tavern and goes and stands outside the door. What does the rest of the group want to do now that you're in?
Well, I
Like talk at
suppose.
once.
Could I possibly grab like a couple nearest chairs and then take them outside for me and Gandium?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, as you grab them, the lady behind the bar actually yells out to you. She goes, "Enjoy the view. If you need a drink, let me know. I'll bring it out to you."
I basically ignore her, and I'm pretty sure that might irritate her a little bit because I can't hear her.
Yeah.
I just continue.
She just kind of looks. She kind of looks and watches you take the chairs out, and she goes, "Huh. I guess she's not thirsty."
I see.
To which
see
then
her.
Yokas then...
I guess he's not thirsty. Sorry, for a second I was listening to the voice and not the character.
Yep.
I apologize. I would have notes. So.
I'm
To
sure
which
it's
then
happened to
Yokas responds back to
Then
the
again, you're an elf, so
tavern.
it's an easy mistake to make. So.
It's okay.
All right. So let's just go through the group real quick and find out. Arnoa, what are you doing?
I'm gonna tuck myself into a table in the corner.
Okay. Ferris?
Oh crap, that's me. Sorry, I'm about half asleep. I was zoning so hard. I was gonna ask her if she had a room
Oh,
near an attic.
yeah. She kind of looks at you and goes, "Huh. I don't think I've seen your kind in quite a while." Yes, there is an attic, and the last time I had someone like you here, he stayed there for a couple days before he flew off. Well, yeah, no problem, sweetie. You can have it. Here you go. And she just hands you a key.
Okay, can I get a block of cheese too?
She kind of smiles. She goes, "Northern or southern? Your counterpart preferred southern style cheese, but..."
Southern, please. With a big grin on my face.
So she just reaches in, and there's like this box that she has behind the bar, and you notice that when she goes to reach in, a little bit of gas comes out. It almost looks like mist, and kind of puts you on defensive for a moment. But then you realize it's just something going on with the air when she opens this box. But she grabs like a small block of cheese, roughly about the size of your hand, and just goes to hand it to you. And she goes, "Enjoy. You look like you could use a good meal."
Well, it's not for me, but he still enjoys. And I head up to the attic.
No, wink.
Rapiers took a chair outside. Gandium went outside. Shin, what are you doing? You saw Arnara go head off to one of the booths on the side wall of the bar, in the tavern.
All right. Is there space at the bar?
Yes, there is. There's a few seats. There's about 10 seats, and there's only about 3 people at the bar currently. Not all sitting together. They're kind of spread out, but there's plenty of open seats at the bar.
Okay. I'll take kind of the furthest away from the other patrons, so I'm like kind of evenly spaced out. I ask the bartender for a hard cider, and ask what the news is, what the local gossip is. What's
Okay.
going on in the town lately?
We'll get right back to that real quick. I want to give Yokas a chance to say what he's doing.
Mhm.
What are you wanting to do, Yokas?
Well, since everybody kind of just split up, and Raparos went outside, it's not what I expected Raparos to do, so I guess I approached the bar as well. I don't know if Shin wants me to join him or not.
No, that's fine. If you kind of ask, I definitely like motion to the chair next to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he asks.
As you walk up, I go, "Didn't Ferris say something about cheese for you?" I'm confused.
Oh, it's not for me.
Did I miss something?
Yeah, a lot of us did.
When
Remember, Ferris, when Ferris rolled her stuff, she found out she had a pet mouse.
Oh yeah, okay, that's right. Never mind. Okay. All right.
And
That's why I was like, oh, that's right.
Okay.
She hasn't pulled it out in front of Shin, so Shin and Arnoa wouldn't know anything about it.
Right.
Probably the rest of us from the Golden Village would know.
Please, I want to keep it. I want to keep it where they don't know. It's just like they think they know, but they don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So Yokus kind of like hops up a little bit and actually has some trouble grabbing the bar stool because it's kind of slippery, and Shin just kind of helps him up. And when he gets up at the bar, she looks at him and she goes, "So a hard cider for you. And for you, cutie, would you like some carrot juice, or is there another drink you'd prefer?"
Oh, you have carrot juice? Please.
You're not the first Haragon I've served, sweetie.
That's kind of cool, but also slightly racist.
What is it? Hard carrot juice?
So she goes over and she grabs a cider and she grabs a little glass and she reaches back into that cold box again and pulls out a little glass, almost like a giraffe or whatever they call it at restaurants, but it's got an orange liquid in it, and she pours it into a glass, and she kind of looks back. She goes, "Do you want anything in it? Either of you or is just the cider for you, Mr.
Shin.
Mr. Shin? Is there anything you'd like in it, or just the cider itself?"
Just the cider. It's a hard cider, so it'll be fine on its own.
I know a man who once poured garlic into it for some reason. I thought he was mad, but anyway. And for you, and she points at the rabbit with the orange glasses. Anything you'd like in it? Any kind of vegetables or anything else in it that'll make it easier for you? Or just the liquid?
Yokus is like thinking, and then he's just the drink.
So she walks up and she kicks the door to the cold box back with her foot after putting the thing back in, grabs both of them, walks up the bar. She's got the carrot juice in the hand that's in front of Shin and the cider in front of Yokus, and she puts them down on the bar, looks at both of them for a second, looks back at both of you, pushes the cider forward and pulls the carrot juice back, pushes them together so they slide across, catches them with each hand, and then stops them right in front of you and puts them down. And she goes, "Enjoy. If there's anything else you need, let me know. And for you, Mr. Shin, you were asking about any goings-on around here? Anything in particular you want to know about?"
It's gotta be shaken.
No, we're kind of new to town, so
Shaken.
getting the lay of the
I
land.
haven't seen you before. Yes.
I know I'm not there, but how did she know your name?
She asked when she got the drink. She's like, "Is there anything you'd like in it, Mister?" And she kind of looked at me and goes, "Shin."
Okay.
She was looking for her last name, but he said his first name. She goes, "No, it's about the same as usual. Just looking for everybody to find some form of happiness. Duke Gaia's taking care of everybody. It's actually going to be harvest time soon, so most of the town's going to have to go up onto the lands and near his castle and help with that. Other than that, it's actually pretty boring around here, which, the way it could be with that nasty mist out there, I'll take the boring."
Drink to that. And with that, I just take a drink. And
she looks back at both of you and she goes, "If you excuse me, I saw a young man go take a booth over there. I want to see if he needs anything, but I'll be right back if you need anything. If you finish your drinks, just slave them there, and if you want a refill, leave it face up. If you are done for the night, just turn your cup upside down and I'll clean it when I get back."
alrighty then.
Okay, thank you.
And she just walks around the bar and heads on. Arnoa, this woman comes walking up to you. She looks at you and she goes, "You look hungry. Is there anything you want?"
Nothing to eat, but I'll take some black tea if you have it.
Any particular plant choice or dealer's choice?
Dealer's choice is fine.
She looks at you for a second, kind of like assesses you a little bit. She goes, "You need to loosen up a little. I got just the tea for you."
Oh no.
She walks back to the bar again, checks on some of the other patrons as she passes by. She's kind of a bubbly woman, seems very happy. She's running around. She goes and puts some water on the stove and heads around, and then she stops for a second and looks back, and you expect her to walk back, but instead she just kind of yells out across the bar. She's like, "Do you want it hot or cold?"
Usually hot.
Everybody's got a preference. Ever since I got this cold box installed, some people want to try drinks that were cold. Honestly, some of them don't need to be, in my opinion, but hey, everybody's got a preference.
Oh my goodness. That's so silly.
So she finishes it, she pours some of the boiling water in it, she reaches up into one of the cabinets and she pulls out a little pack of shin. It kind of looks like, almost like a really thin kind of animal hide that has leaves in it. It's not usually the way you see tea made, but she takes the little packet and she just drops it in the cup with the boiling water.
Okay.
And then she stirs it around a little bit, and after a few moments, the water starts to change color. She lets it sit in, and she looks at it for a second, and she's like, "No, he needs more than that." And she stirs it up a little bit more, adds a little bit more water to it to keep it hot. And after a little while, she stops, and she sticks the stick down in it, pulls the little bag out, and kind of flicks it off onto the counter, onto like a little plate, and then walks around and brings it over to Arno. She goes, "Here you go. This should help you sleep better tonight. You look like you haven't had a good rest in a while."
Oh, thank you.
I want to roll to check my drink.
Okay.
Would that be investigation?
Yeah, do
or-
investigation.
Okay, 22.
It is a lovely glass of cider.
Okay.
There's
Hey.
nothing special in it, no extra chemical. And the thing about it is that as you look around, even the people who are in, even the gentlemen at the card game,
Mm-hmm.
even when they're disputing about something that happened, none of it's getting violent. Everybody in the town and everybody you've passed by up to this point generally just seems very happy to be here. No one seems to have any kind of qualms about things. Everybody's in kind of a fairly good mood. Even the traders outside, even when they weren't conducting business or selling anything to anybody, were just kind of laughing with each other and kind of just killing time. Everybody seems to be just right as rain here.
Place is too happy. I don't trust
I
it.
was about to say, that's the most disconcerting thing I've heard so far.
Hey, how do ritual spells work?
Well, do you have ritual spells?
I have one.
I want to say you have to take 10 minutes per spell level, I think, to cast it. If you do that, you don't use a spell slot.
Okay, I
pretty sure.
apologize, but as soon as Lone said something about a ritual spell, for some reason in my head, I just got an image of his character going around in circles on or like around his bar stool saying, "Hi, how are you?"
I'm assuming you're wanting to do the purify food and drink.
Yeah, I wanted to do it when the bartender's not looking. On the carrot juice.
It says it takes. So it's not listed. What's funny is that it listed as a ritual to a certain extent. However, it also just listed as a one-time casting, one action casting time spell.
Right.
Mhm.
You can choose to use it as an action, or you can choose to use it as a ritual. And I'm looking up what that entails in 5e again. Not that one.
I mean, geez, man. The longer I wait, the warmer my carrot juice gets.
I know. Yeah, but I typed in ritual and there's just a ton of different
It's a
things.
transmutation spell, so that'll lock it down a little bit.
Well, I'm looking up.
Worse than room temperature we hate.
I think you actually have to have
Says
ritual
it's
casted
all
to
non-magical
cast
food and
it.
drink within a 5-foot radius sphere centered on the point of choice within range is purified and rendered free of poison and disease. Instantaneous transmutation. Other than just the fact that it takes one turn to focus it, that's it. It doesn't have anything else. It says components are V and S, but I don't really bother with those. Something like this would be
That's verbal and
simple.
somatic.
Yeah.
So somebody would be able to hear you casting it. I'll look. I just let him cast it for now. I'm just looking up what that's going to do for his spell slots.
It'll just take a spell slot. I don't care.
Yeah.
I can't get your. I
Yeah,
can't
you
get
cast
that
it.
out of my head.
Yeah, I cast it.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Lone, I can't get that image out of my head.
That's your fault. That is your fault.
Your ears are just bouncing along as you do it.
Here we go.
All right, so you cast it, and it actually goes out 5 feet from you, so it actually ends up covering both yours, Shin's, as well as 2 other patrons at the bar. It just kind of goes out this little wave that goes through, and every food or water that it touches, it just kind of covers and gets this little sheen to it. But other than that, not much changes.
Okay. Now I go ahead and down it, and then I turn it upside down.
Okay. Yeah, you down it. It tastes great, aside from just being a little bit warmer than it probably would have been had you drank it instantly. Other than that, tastes great.
And at this point, favorite comes down to
Temperature V8.
The Ferris is coming back downstairs.
Well, she doesn't come back down the stairs. She actually lands in front of Gandam and Pirius.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna go back outside and go to them. So what are y'all doing while y'all are out there?
I would like to say that we're sitting in the chairs I brought out? Question mark.
Or is Gandium still just standing stoically?
I don't know.
No, I take a sat.
Yes.
I obviously take the gentle gesture and take a sat.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, the town just feels wrong, and it just feels wrong. So I want to do Arcana. And
Okay.
just see if something happens. I don't have any pluses. We'll just see what happens.
Okay. There's a lot of arcana. There's a lot of magical energy coming from this area. That being said, you're only like a quarter of a mile away from the statue. So it could be coming from there. It's just kind of radiating from all around. Even people who aren't magical can feel there's something in the air here.
Mm.
I look to Ferris, and I want to ask her if she could kind of get an overview of the city, just maybe of the square, because I think you only said we saw part of this or the circle. I think you said town square, but it was a
Yeah,
circle.
so the road you walk down and you see houses. Like I said, on average, it's about 1 out of every 3 houses, give or take, roughly, as you walk that you were able to count, that has a light on. And it's as you saw in the picture, it's kind of this. It's crowded, but it's not like compact or claustrophobic. But it's not, there's not 20, 30 feet between houses. It's close enough that there are quite a few people who could live in the city. But it only looks like maybe it's anywhere from third to halfway full from what you could tell based on where you're at. But you only really saw the houses along that main road coming from the gate and the trade square here in the center of the town. And the town has kind of had this wagon wheel looking to it where there's different roads and stuff kind of heading down in kind of this circle pattern. It passes between stalls and heads out, and then there's houses down that direction. The whole overall city is kind of shaped in this circular pattern.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of just I'm gonna ask Varys, Because can we overhear the conversations that are happening inside?
You can hear various conversations as you're sitting there talking. Every now and then, a person here or a person there. Sometimes 2 or 3 people kind of like walk out the front door.
Can I infer something that was said to Shen? Like all I heard was the crop comment that they harvest crops outside the castle.
Yeah, she's not. Yeah, she's not holding back on her speech. I mean, she's in a tavern. She's used to talking pretty loud, even though it's not the busiest place. Her voice carries. You could hear her talk about it's almost harvest season, how everybody in the town kind of bands together. It's kind of like this little celebration where everybody kind of goes and helps with the harvest up at Duke Geyer's lands. That's where most of the crops grow.
I'm just curious about what the crops are and what the overall view of the town is. We obviously see it from that one angle, but a vertical view might not be a bad thing to have either.
Yeah, the castle's up on the hill, and it does have like a defensive wall of itself, but it's a castle for the lord of the land, so you would expect it to be somewhat defended.
How high can I go up?
You're not feeling a lot of wind bearing down on you here.
I can go pretty high.
Yeah, you can go pretty high. You may not be able to go taller than, say, the statue, or even too high over the castle. And flying over the castle itself may not be recommended because you don't know what the state of the guards are around the actual castle itself. But as far as the city goes, you don't feel like a whole lot of wind's blocking your path.
I shoot straight up then.
Okay. You shoot up, and as I described, as you look down, the city's kind of in this circular pattern. There's several roads, there's several alleyways. In all stances of it, it would actually be if some more sunlight could get through and it wasn't so dark and dreary all the time. This might actually be a very lovely city. Even the stonework, it looks like people took time to clean the city walls, the cobblestone down some of the main roads, not the alleyways. Most of the alleyways are dirt, but the main cobble roads that lead down the main thoroughfares into each district and between houses and whatnot looks like it's pretty well taken care of. There's no major destruction that you see. You do notice that all of the walls leading into the city, wherever there's a gate, there are no doors on the gates. The doorway's just left wide open. But other than that, not much else. The town just looks like a really quiet, sleepy town in the middle of a really dreary setting. But other than that, if it's business as usual, this would be a pretty nice place.
If I use my stealth, can I go over the castle?
You're a giant bird person?
Near the castle, like just to see.
Yeah, just to see.
Yeah, I'll let you do that. You fly up to the castle where you can kind of see on the wall. You see along the walls, there are some guards.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to see how stealthy I could be. Yeah, no, I ain't stealthy.
You're about as stealthy as a B-52 on the ground.
Apparently she went caw in the air.
I was just gonna say she yelled out caw as she was taking off in flight.
It's like, I'm a bird! So you fly, near the castle walls. There are a couple guards on it. Based on where the sun is almost over the horizon now. You don't realize that it's actually been this long, but y'all have been in town for a couple hours now. But when you fly up, there's several guards along the wall and whatnot, but some of them that see you even stop to kind of like wave at you, like seem to be pretty happy and saying hello. They don't seem to be really defensive of the fact that you're flying nearby or anything. It does seems like you haven't given them any reason to be defensive or whatnot. They just seem to see an Ara Krakra and enjoying a night flight or an evening flight. It's no big deal to them. Some of them even are actually like looking at you the way like kids look at a kite or whatever. They're kind of fascinated with seeing you fly. They're kind of younger guards, so you kind of assume this is probably the first time they've seen one of your race, but some of the older ones are just kind of like looking at you and watching you go, but there's no defensive posture or anything from them.
Alright, I land back.
Crops.
Yeah, so what little bit you see over the wall, as you started to climb higher and higher, you were running into some of the wind that you were feeling. But you were able to actually see over the wall, and you saw that the castle wall is kind of misleading from where it is. It looks like the castle is right there, and it was probably like a smaller foundation, but you actually saw that the wall actually goes all the way out past the statue, and almost half of the land that's in the statue itself, or in the castle wall itself. And the castle walls do actually have doors and stuff barricading them, but over half the land there is not dedicated to any kind of like gardens or anything. It's basically farmland surrounding the statue. And it's like from almost the castle's front entrance and road that lead into the front door of the castle. As you flew by, you saw pretty much from where the road ends a few feet out, crops start and go all the way down. It's at least a quarter mile worth of just crops growing all the way through.
All right. So we found a huge weed operation. It's kind of creepy, honestly.
Yeah, kind of survival-like.
Control of
We
resources?
didn't find weed.
Roll for weed check. This is good shit.
All right,
I think-
rolling for weed check. Hang on a second.
Okay, so after I stretched, after
There is a medicine check.
Nat 20.
I didn't. I don't think I got it.
What?
My God.
So apparently
This is like some
Shen
Snoop Dogg level shit here.
Shen is inside the tavern and he just smells
my
it or
God.
something.
Herbalism all over again.
So Ferris rolled
Oh, yeah.
a nat, or
Yeah.
not a nat, but 19.
Yeah. I mean, if Shin could actually see what was going on, that would be really good, and he could tell me like what a lot of the crops consist of. But Ferris, you still rode pretty high. What you could see is there was your basics. There was vegetables, there was corn, there was wheat, and honestly, the way it's set up, it's much like the farmlands around your village. You suspect that this could probably, if conserved pretty well and managed right, those fields could probably keep this town fed, or this whole city fed, for several months. And at the state that the city's in, of only seeing on average 1 of 3 houses. Now, when you flew over, you saw that several of the houses that get closer to the castle entrance, more of those houses are full. But there's no way the city is more than maybe 40% full of people, of houses that are full. Obviously, those could be multi-person families, children. You don't really know until you see more, get closer to those kind of places. But really only, if lucky, maybe 45% of the houses seem to be occupied. So that much food should be able to take care of everyone in the city if it's managed right for, from harvest to harvest.
Okay.
So
But it doesn't
what's
look
the
any
deal with
different
this?
than what's here. It doesn't look like
Everyone's
it's
so
much different than
happy. And everything's okay. The only thing that's been somewhat sketchy is Guy peed himself, and there's something in the storm drain.
See, my issue is they're way too
Chill.
happy. Like for living in a city in the mist.
So as y'all are discussing, you
worried
hear
about
a
it?
really loud glass shatter from inside the tavern.
Do I see glass flying?
Arnoa got really mad at his tea and threw it against the wall.
Because he found out that it tasted like beef. Sorry.
We found out it
we
was-
go investigate.
Yeah, going inside.
So when you go
I go.
inside, you
I'm
notice
just gonna
that
sit here.
as Rapirus and Ganim, as y'all been sitting outside, people have been leaving here or there. It's getting kind of later, so it's assumed they're probably heading home. When you get inside, all that's there is Lady Miriam, Arnoa, Yokus, and Shin. Shin and Yokus are standing up in front of their bar stool, standing in front of it. Arnoa is standing in front of the stall he was sitting in, and he's got his hand on he's got his hand on his longbow, but he hasn't drawn it. And Lady Miriam is standing behind the bar, and she's kind of white in the face, like something just startled her. And you see shattered glass on the bar, right in front of it. It looks like she was cleaning a glass and then just dropped it. But everybody's kind of like, much like Ferris was when you found her in the alleyway.
I'm sorry, I literally had to look up a picture of a rabbit sitting in front of a bar stool just to do a comparison.
Oh, scroll back up on the right.
Can we ask her? Can we ask her what happened?
So when you say something out loud to her, Arnoa, Yokris, and Shin all kind of snap out at the same time as her, and she looks at, she goes, "Clumsy me, look at me, I dropped another glass. That happens from time to time. Just have to get one of the local smiths to make me another one, eh? Or maybe switch to metal, that'll be safer." She starts cleaning up the glass and just goes about business as normal. And then she looks back at you, Ganny, and she goes, "I'm sorry, sweetie, I missed you. Is there something you need, a drink or anything?"
I'm seeing if I see anything.
Nope. Actually, no, I take that back. Ferris, your perception was high enough. You do notice that Arnoa has a cut on his leg. Like, not a huge one. It's just a little one, but there is some blood trickling down his leg. No actual damage, though. Shin, what's promoting you to do an investigation? Just kind of...
Well, suddenly the bar's kind of empty, whereas before I was just standing there. I don't reckon I recall everybody else leaving.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you kind of look around, and the last time you saw, there were people playing cards, and there were people sitting at some of the tables, but now the bar is really... It's really just you, Arnoa, Yokris, and Lady Miriam.
I've definitely, thrown my, traveler's cloak off of my sword, put my hand on the hilt, taking a stance, looking around, okay, what's going on?
I wanna put my hand on his shoulder to, ease him, and I just want to ask her if... How often does, or how do I say this?
Lose time.
Have there been? Was the thing where you feel like you've lost time? Is it amnesia? Not amnesia.
Blackout?
Not deja vu, but it just feels like you've
spaced out.
Yeah,
spaced out. Yeah.
I want to ask her that, but obviously the way with the words that actually makes sense. How often do you?
You feel like there's a time gap.
There's a time gap, yeah.
How often do you drop your glasses and feel that kind of you've missed something?
Right.
She's cleaning the glass up off the counter. She goes, "We're all clumsy, sweetie. Everything's fine. It's..."
How many times a day are you clumsy?
Everybody's clumsy, but this is only the first glass I've broken in... at least a month and a half, 2 months. You're all jumpy, aren't you?
What happened to the other patrons?
They finished their drinks and went home. Many of them have wives to get to, otherwise they might get in trouble thinking that there's more going on at Lady Miriam's inn than she wants them to. Night, Echo.
Night, Echo.
Night, Echo.
So there's some other things that, never mind. And I just kind of start humming.
He kind of looks at you and just, but there's plenty of patrons in here between Mr. Shin that I've met and this cute little bunny rabbit. And the young man back at the booth. If you're looking for someone in particular, maybe you're looking for one of them?
I just want to ask, have there been any unnatural, how do I say it? Disappearances? Have there been any abnormal disappearances of people lately that you know of?
Most of us grew up together. There's no one here who didn't move on to go find... We've had a few traders who left, but some of them have been back. Obviously, people go out and have adventures and they don't ever come home, and you feel sad and you hope one day you can see them. But no, everything's dandy here. No one's gone missing.
A lot of travelers?
Well, I hope not. I hope they become regulars. Maybe even neighbors.
Why are you so happy?
What's there not to be happy about? It's a dangerous world out there in the mists. We have protection. We have a wonderful dupe. We have food. We have security.
But it's weird.
You must be from one of the dangerous villages. It's okay. You get used to how safe it feels here. It's rather wonderful.
Well, I know a safer place, but I mean...
I want to interject and just say, please excuse our questioning. Do you have a place for our wonderful group to not only bandage up the cut on Arnoa's leg, but also to take a time?
When you say that, she looks over and notices blood. She goes, "Oh dear, no, hold on," and she like reaches behind the bar and she gets like this little box out and she kind of like goes running over to Nana. She goes, "I promise you, dearie, I'm not ignoring you, but I dropped the glass. I didn't think I shot it. One would think I was like a world-class ranger with that." And she walks over and she's like, "Do you want me to bandage up your leg there, sweetie?"
I'm actually going to I'm gonna run an investigation on that.
On your wound?
Yeah. Because I want to see if I can figure out what actually caused it, because depending on how much it's bleeding, it should not have been able to have been caused by that glass, even, if I was close up to it.
From halfway across the bar.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant.
Yep. You have seen wounds like this before, both in your life as well as on others and hunters and whatnot. This is the kind of wound that happens when
you're marked for death.
the skin actually shows more signs of tearing than a simple cut. It almost looks like a scratch from some sort of wildcat or whatever, where it kind of gets a nail hung up in your arm. It's deep enough to bleed, but it's closer to a scratch. It doesn't hurt, and there's nothing really to it. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for the fact that it's big enough that you can actually see a wound, it would almost look like you killed a mosquito on your arm, because it's not even bleeding very much. But it's definitely a wound, and it looks like it was inflicted by some sort of animal.
Oh, I'm a
Though what animal, you can't even really tell, because it's not any kind of wound you've seen before, but it has similarities to like the nail of like a cat or a lizard of some sort.
Like a rabbit.
Yokeris' revenge.
Revenge for what? I haven't done anything.
I think it might be revenge from everybody calling him lunch.
Do you want to be bandaged?
I'll tell her no. I'll take care of it myself. It's not anything that she calls, so she shouldn't, she shouldn't worry about it necessarily.
She looks at you. She goes, if you feel that's fine, do you want me to leave you the bandages here so you can take care of it yourself, or do you have your own poultices or anything? I've got a few drinks back here that, well, quite frankly, looking at you, I don't know if you're technically old enough to handle them, but I mean, you could be, and I'm not going to judge, but I don't know how they handle on wounds, but they sure seem to make a lot of people around here forget the wounds they get when they go out and stub themselves on some piece of farm equipment or whatnot.
No, this really is nothing major. I've got I've got gear to take care of it myself.
Okay, sweetie, well, just take care of yourself. You can get that infected if you don't take care of it. So she grabs the box and kind of like heads back to the bar. She goes, "Can't say I can argue with a young one who really wants to be responsible for themselves. So many of these days aren't."
I stare at the rabbit.
I kind of snicker to myself after hearing her say that, because I know that I'm older than she is.
Are you though?
So half elves age very slowly.
He only looks like he's like
really
17
don't
or
think
18.
this woman is like human.
Yeah. What's the race and age of this woman?
Yeah, you roll high enough. She looks to be human, and she's not giving off any kind of magical energies or anything that make you think otherwise. She looks like she's a human woman, probably in her early 30s.
Say, not only did he roll high enough, it was a nat 20.
Yeah.
So
you're not getting any feeling of anything from her other than she's human. She looks to be in her late 30s. If anything is wrong with her or unnormal, it's probably her cholesterol level. But other than that, she's fine.
She's on drugs.
Her bra size is...
I was about to say, whenever somebody asks her sizes later, just go ahead and rattle those off.
Okay.
If only I were an alchemist, I'd be able to like draw blood and see what kind of drugs she's taking.
You know what's weird?
What?
Is I actually have alchemist supplies.
Hey!
Don't.
I asked about a place to sleep.
Yeah. So she looks at you when you kind of remind her about the place to sleep. She goes, clumsy and forgetful. Sorry, I was so worried about seeing him bleed. I always hate to see people in pain, but yes, no, of course, I have rooms here. I also acquired, if your party's large enough, instead of having multiple rooms, would you just rather have, there's
The
Yes,
attic
right-
room is very big.
No, the house across the street, I actually acquired that one and the house behind it through the alleyway. Both are empty right now, and they would have enough rooms in them to hold your entire party if you'd prefer to have those, or I can give you rooms here if you'd rather stay here. If you need anything, you can just knock on my door and wake me up if I'm asleep, and I'll get anything I can get prepared for you. But if you'd rather just have a house to yourselves and, do what you want and not have anybody bothering you, then you can take one of the houses.
I think that should be sufficient. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take the house.
Okay. She reaches behind the bar and looks through, and you hear her kind of rustle around some keys and whatnot, and she goes to hand you the key. And then, as she's handing you the key, and she's looking at you, her skin kind of goes pale white for a split second, and then she kind of shakes out of it and then hands you the key. She goes, "Have a wonderful night, sweetie. Take care." And about the time you do that, all of you actually hear, like, not really a bang, but it almost kind of like scratching from the window outside of the front of the tavern. Just a light one, but there's like a scratch, the way she was looking.
Does that mean I would see something, or something would come at me? Because I didn't go into the tavern with
No, so you were outside the front door facing towards the market square. This was actually one of the windows on the side heading up towards the castle. So, like, it's still the front, but these windows kind of, like, arch out in little half circles out.
Okay.
You may have seen something if you were looking that way, but the last time I had heard anything, you were facing out towards the market square.
I don't know. All I know is I went outside, put some chairs down, and sat there with
You didn't
nobody.
hear anything that would make you turn to the right and look over at the glass.
Oh, I know I can't hear anything.
Can we investigate the glass? Can I investigate the glass?
Yeah, do you want to be overt about it, or do you want to be, stealthy about it?
Strictly overt. I don't care.
Okay. Yeah, you just walk over to the glass, and you do notice there's a pretty defined scratch right near the bottom of the glass in one of the little squares of the window pane. And it just kind of goes from like halfway across all the way over to the edge of the glass and then stops. It doesn't cut all the way through, but it's definitely on the outside. Something is like etched into the glass.
Oh, God.
Can I ask, is it around the same height as the cut on Arnoa?
Do you want to ask Arnoa to stand next to the window and see?
Sure.
It's actually exactly the same height. The same cut and the scratch in the glass are almost identical.
So, are y'all picking up what I'm putting down here, the inferences I'm making?
Yes.
Mhm.
Same
I mean,
feature.
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a mist that's running across the ground that we talked about earlier in the part of
Back
this?
in the alleyway, the mist had actually kind of come over the wall a little bit and was etched down, but it didn't get any higher than like your ankle.
And
And
is
it
it in,
only
is
went
it
out
in
into.
here?
No, there's no mist as far as you can see. The city seems pretty safe from it. That was over next to the wall, so some of it may actually ooze over the edge of the wall, but where you're at right now, there's no mist.
What about over near Arnoa?
Nope. No, anywhere you look, you can see the ground. Everything is fine. There's no mist anywhere in your sight.
I don't think we sleep on the ground.
Well, she handed you a key to the house across the way.
Oh,
across the street.
I know. I'm just making that statement.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I don't have anything else with this woman. She freaks me out. I
Yeah,
want to
she
stab
freaks
her.
me out too. I want to leave.
I want to stab her and move on.
Yeah, but you're living in her attic.
No, she's coming with us.
No, I'm coming with y'all.
Well, I guess you need to turn the key back in.
Or do I?
No, Jade.
It would be hilarious. Come on.
Nope. The moment has passed.
I mean, you guys haven't left the tavern yet.
I
Yeah,
chuck
but now
the
we've
key
got
and
spoopy
I
shit
chuck
happening.
the key to the attic in her general direction, say thanks for the cheese, and walk out the door.
The room not to your liking, sweetie.
I would prefer to stay with people I know.
Oh, these are your friends as well.
Well, a few.
Yes, the bird is with us.
Oh, wonderful. I hope you all have a wonderful sleep, and whenever you do fall asleep, I don't know your sleeping schedule. Maybe y'all stayed up over the night, but I hope when you do lay down, it's comfortable and you get plenty of rest. And when you get up in the morning, come by and see me. We'll have some breakfast ready for you.
Yeah, and I walk out the door because that's freaking me out.
Okay, is the mist outside on the ground?
Nope, no mist.
I can just see their faces when they step outside the door, and I'm just sitting there basically sky gazing.
Can I assign the situation and my inferences to Jade?
Okay.
I guess we go to the house?
Yep.
Do we stop along the way?
Nope.
No stops.
All right. As you're starting to walk over to the house, there's a low hum going through the air, heading from the castle.
Magic.
You can't really. It's not something you normally hear audible. It starts off really low, and then it kind of builds up a little bit. And after about 3 or 4 minutes of this hum slowly getting more and more intense, but you see a few people staring up towards the castle while this is going on. Some of them are pointing and getting. Some people are even covering their eyes as this humming is going up. But after a few minutes or so, you suddenly see this golden beam just fly out of the staff of the statue, heading straight out across the valley that y'all moved through and heading back towards your village. It's a short little burst. It's barely even a line. It goes so fast you barely even notice it, but when it goes out, it kind of pops your ears for a second and then just heads on down.
Can we ask one of the people who are standing there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I want a perception.
What the hell was that?
Yeah, just
So one of the
general question,
traders.
what was that?
Yeah, one of the traders looks at it and goes, "Must be your first time here, eh?"
Yeah, no, yes.
Yeah. Pops your ears every once in a while till you get used to it. Honestly, after a couple of years, you don't even hear the humming anymore. You know it's there, but it's just part of life. Happens 2 or 3 times a day. Some days it's really active. It'll do it 3 or 4 or 5 times. I think the most I've ever counted in one day was 8, but that was back when I was a kid. It's not happening as often as it used to.
What is it exactly?
Nobody knows. We sure as hell didn't build it. It was here when we built the city. We used it as a marker. You can see it when you're away from the tree line. You can see it for miles. Makes a good way to find a home. And for some reason, the mist doesn't go anywhere near it. Almost like it's afraid of it. If it lived. If it had intelligence, but it's a mist. But it's awfully clear up there, and the sun shines through on nice days, and every once in a while it even gets a nice rain. It's warm as hell up there compared to down here. Not surprised the Duke took it. I mean, it's been in his family for generations, but I mean, obviously, if you're going to rule an area, you're going to take the prime real estate for yourself. Am I right?
Can I ask him? My friend here got a cut on his leg, and we noticed that it might be a little more common in this area than we anticipate. Heard any other things about other people getting kind of small lacerations about this height? And I point to his leg.
I see you share affliction with most of our city. I don't know if it's the layout, if it's the humming, popping our ears. Seems like a lot of people around here are clumsy. Either that or you ran into one of the damned cats.
Cats? Question mark.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some of them around here. Every now and then somebody gets a scratch on them and says it looks like a damn cat wound. Honestly.
Have you seen a cat?
Not really. Somebody told me it was a cat wound one time, but I don't even really know what the fuck a cat is.
Well, you see the rabbit over there? Kind of like that. Just a lot more pissed off.
I don't know. Your rabbit looks pretty damn pissed off.
Well, every time I call him a rabbit, that's kind of how he goes for.
So I'm guessing when his eyes halfway closed like they are now while he's looking at you, that's a cat?
Yeah, it just means he knows he's food.
Okay. Well.
That's it! Runs over and punches him.
I would like
I grab him by the ears before he does it.
My God.
He did a 19 to hit.
Okay,
my
he beats
gosh.
my armor. He beats my armor class, which is a 13.
You want to know what the damage is? You want me to roll the damage?
0.
0.
Okay, can I punch him back?
Oh God, you're gonna kill him!
Not guaranteed to be a 0.
Can
Do I break your armor class?
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He uses his agility and just kind of like bounces over your fist through the air. The tradesman you were talking to actually just starts laughing. Damn cat's agile as hell, ain't he?
He's a cat.
Let's see, the problem with your strike doing 0, mine actually can do damage.
Well, the reason why I did the punch was because I knew even if it went through, it wasn't gonna do anything.
Yeah, I'm just tenderizing the next meal. It's okay.
I'm going to turn my attention back to the trader and say, pardon my contentious companions.
Oh my
So that
God.
you said
Jesus Christ!
you said
Right?
that humming and the ball of light and everything, those happen sometimes multiple times a day. Do they always go off in the same direction?
Yeah, let's head out towards the valley.
I could do that too.
One of these days, if I ever get brave, I'm gonna go follow that light. But every time I try to head that way, I run into solid mist. Sometimes I get a little bit of a wild hair, but I'd have to be damn near insane to go wander off into the mist.
All right. So Shin rolled a nat 20 Arcana.
Yeah, there's magical energy all around you. This place is seeping in it, but it's
Trying to focus on the beam.
Yeah, the beam
Left.
feels like that's where most of this magical energy is coming from. You feel it come from the statue, and then overhead where that beam flew over your heads and headed back towards Yitfis. There's heavy magical energy with that when it went. As far as what it is or what kind of spell it is, it's way beyond anything you've ever tried to study.
Okay.
I was gonna say, with an Arcana check, you don't see magic. You just try and recall lore about.
I'll just have to do a ritual for it
Stuff.
later, I guess.
I
Yeah,
can
it's-
see
it's-
magic.
If you want to see magic, you have to use the spell Detect Magic.
I have
Yep.
detect magic.
I do as well. I wouldn't waste your spell. I can cast it as a ritual.
It's a 0.
Is it?
It's a cantrip. No, it's not a cantrip for me.
No, it's not.
No.
My eyes were not focusing on it.
Yeah.
All right,
It
does
is,
anybody else want to do anything?
First.
No, I
Anything
want to go to the
else to
house.
I want to
Okay.
go to the house.
I want to not sleep on the floor in the house.
Yeah, we're all gonna sleep in the attic.
No. And I don't want to sleep on the ground. I want to fashion a thing. What do you call it?
Hammock. or
Hammock.
a
Thank you.
bed.
I want to fashion a hammock.
Like, you don't even want to sleep on something that's touching the floor.
No, I don't want to sleep on anything that's touching the
Is the
floor.
hammock even going to hold your weight?
Okay, I'm a thick boy, but we can make thick boy things, okay?
So you open up the door to the house. When you get inside, there's a few oil lanterns that you can get lit with certain people's skills or just a tinderbox and go through. The house is actually pretty well
Yo,
furnished.
lunch. Light it up.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. I just snap my fingers and all the lanterns light up.
Ew.
You see several footprints around this house, but there's nothing of note. They could be just random people who went in. It has been swept and cleaned, but judging by the fact that some of the roads aren't actually paved in cobblestone, and who knows, travelers who've come through here, it could just be that the floor has been stained with random footprints and shoe prints over time. But other than that, the house is still pretty good. You're not picking up anything.
Are the footprints?
You're not picking up any murder scenes or anything in here.
Okay, are the footprints are just random footprints, or not like made of a different type of material?
No, they're just regular shoe footprints that have been like stained in the ground and stained into the floor and whatnot.
I want to take one of the lanterns. You said lantern, right?
Yeah, like little oil lamps and lanterns.
Okay. I want to put one on the ground near the door, but not where you're going to open the door and kick it, but near it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. Are you leaving it lit or?
Yes, lit.
Okay.
I'm going to, before bed, take the time. I'm gonna, yeah, right. I'm gonna take the time to, I guess go ahead and warn everybody that I'm gonna alarm any entry points using rituals. Each of them will take 11 minutes to cast, but it can cover a range no larger than a 20-foot cube. So for like each of the doors or windows that are outside of that, they'll put another one. So I can take like 30, 50 minutes to an hour or so, you know, depending on how many windows and stuff
This is gonna be great.
I need.
I apologize for interrupting you. I'm actually going to settle in right inside the door as my place of situating, so I'm not going to leave that
Like the
area.
front door?
Yeah.
Okay.
I apologize for interrupting you, Open. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going.
So whenever somebody knocks, we'll never know it.
Oh.
It was a bad death joke.
You would have let him in, but you just didn't hear him coming.
All right.
I can't feel vibrations. Thank you very fucking much. No, I'm not tough.
So if a creature
you're able to
outside of the party,
you're able to alarm everything just fine.
yeah, if a creature or something outside the party enters them, then it'll set off an alarm.
Like an audible cue, or just your instincts, or whatever. What does it do?
The audible is it's going to produce a sound of a handbell for 10 seconds within 60 feet. And then mentally it'll ping me to like which of the alarms.
Okay. Can your party set those off, or only something outside of your party?
The things that I don't designate, and I'm designating the party.
Okay. I just need to know in case somebody got up in the middle of the night and peed. If it was
Yeah, I was about to say. I have to go take a piss.
All right. That's how my security system goes off half the time. So I'll let the dogs out and forget.
All right. So you all lay down. There are several rooms. There are 4 rooms and 6 of you, so at least one of you is going to need to double up. But Rapiros has set up shop in the living room next to the front door.
I also want to be in the living room, but I want to fashion a hammock between 2 of the walls.
Okay, yeah, you can do that.
That's fucking great. I can just see it now. I love it.
So with the 4 rooms, or the 3 room, no. Okay, I'm tired now. Did I say 3 or 4?
You
Four.
said everyone gets their
I
own.
said 4,
Cool.
then
So everybody
3.
gets their. Okay, so 4. Everybody else gets their own room. So
I go to
didn't
the
actually mark
highest
it down,
room.
but- well, all the bedrooms are upstairs. So the bottom living room area has a cooking space and the entertaining room, living room. And then there's stairs that lead upstairs, and there are 4 bedrooms. And then a room off that has some interesting contraption in it that has some sort of cylinder that leads out the back and goes down into the floor of the house.
Why didn't we investigate that?
We didn't get
Okay,
there.
let's get
What
some
was it
sleep.
again?
We'll deal with that tomorrow. Oh my God, Ferris. It's a it's a pipe.
This weird contraption has a place for you to sit, and then the pipe seems to lead from the bottom of the box
Wow.
down into the floor.
Oh, wow.
There is a handle
Weird.
on it, and when you pull the handle, it like dumps a bucket of water in it. Aside from making this really, really pretty spiral pattern, how much you understand of what it's doing, I don't know.
Is that a
Do you
fucking
have a-
toilet?
Do you have
Yeah.
better passive?
God.
I mean, my passive is 15, so.
My passive is 12.
It's a toilet. I'm not even gonna make you
It's a
roll.
toilet.
It's a freaking toilet.
Oh my God.
We literally admitted that there were sewer systems here, so there's a freaking toilet. Look,
Okay,
you can
but
shit
you
in
could've
it,
just
it goes
said-
away.
You could have just said it was a toilet, but what you said was there's a contraption that's got a thing that goes in the ground. We
Y'all
all
came
thought it was
from-
a toilet.
Y'all all came from a village that was not quite technologically advanced. It was still kind of like, this is a fully like city.
We're all
Okay,
backwoods
So
hillbillies.
who's taking their first
Okay,
their first
okay.
toileted poop?
Speak for yourselves.
Burn, you forget. Yokus has an intelligence of 17 and he's an artificer. He built the sewer system.
He's also
You built
in-
a
Wandering
sewer
around the
system,
village
but
like,
you didn't get one of the
"Oh, we
people
don't
in the
have a
village
village system."
well enough to actually build them a sewer system.
Okay,
you
right.
for yourself. Yokus knows what this
Hey,
thing
I
is. He's
mean, you
laughing at
know,
all of
it's-
y'all pushing the button and dumping gallons and gallons of water down this thing.
Wait, you guys have separate holes?
A waste.
you poop pellets. Don't start.
No, I am not an owl.
Not,
Not
you.
you.
Oh,
Not you. You
God.
squirt. You poop and pee out of the same freaking hole.
Well, don't forget they also vomit their bones of the prey
True.
they ate.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to National Geographic.
Okay,
All
so-
right.
Nat Geo or
Which makes me
Borderlands.
wonder, how did that mouse live so long? Is that supposed to be your snack?
He was a fish. He was supposed to be a snack, but then he started talking, and well, quite frankly,
Oh.
he's entertaining.
Oh.
Oh no, it talks to her in her head.
He's
That's
entertaining. Please don't eat me.
why
Pretty
we
much,
keep
yeah.
Yoshi
Kind of sounded
around.
like you the first day I met you.
Yeah, definitely.
So to recap, so far in the party we have Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Speedy Gonzales.
And
Foghorn
Leghorn, apparently.
Anyway.
I say.
All right.
All right,
we
so
all sleep.
yeah, so y'all are laying down for sleep. It will be. This is a safe place. Everyone can sleep. If you feel like you don't want to sleep, now some of you have already stayed up one night or traded off, so haven't really had a good night's rest. But there's no reason to feel like you're in any danger here. You can all sleep unless you so tell me that you want to not sleep for some reason or not meditate or whatever you need to do.
I was gonna say,
have-
Yokus.
Since I have a
Yokus,
wonderful nocturnal friend,
Yeah.
I'm going to sleep.
Definitely.
I was gonna say, Yokus actually finds the furthest corner from the door of the room he's in, and then sets up his crossbow right in front of him, pointed towards the door.
Hilarious.
Okay.
Since I
Hmm.
since I had slept / was in a trance for at least a part of a night, I'm good for staying up.
We can just trance and we'll still be aware of our surroundings.
That's true. So there's no sleeping still. But I don't need
Yeah,
to sleep.
technically we don't need it, but
I'm sleeping.
That's fine.
So the elves are just going.
There's a reason why I put the lantern by the door. but I don't want to say that there's a reason why I put the lantern by the door because Burn will do something crafty with it.
I was
I'm
actually
still gonna do something crafty with it.
like
It's okay to admit you're afraid of the dark.
No. Yes. But
But no.
There's a reason, but if I say it, Burn will use it against me, and I do not want to.
Sai has heard the stories from previous adventurers who have left gaps in their stories for me to play with.
like a part of me.
So
personally
I'm sure he's
thinks
also
that
heard
you're
stories
doing
about
it
people who have
for-
intentionally given you fodder to play with.
Yeah, I don't want to play into it because if I tell you why I put it there, the next time we come back around, you're gonna be like, "Well, this," and it's ruined. Okay, the whole reason's ruined.
Me as a character
Fair.
just thinks you're putting
Fair.
it there for
in front of
dim
your
light,
bedroom?
so
Oh
it's
no,
fine.
you said the front door.
No, it's at the front door. And Rapiris, how close are you to it?
To the door. I'm literally like
no,
right
it's-
next
To
to it.
the lamp.
I don't know how far.
How far in front of the door did you put it? Because she's literally right
I
inside the
wanted
doorway.
I wanted it at the front door, but not where you can open the door and kick it.
Okay, because
So,
yeah, I'm literally
at your
right
head?
inside the door against the wall.
Oh, okay, so I understood it as you had your back against the door.
No, I'm right inside the door, like, say to the.
When you walk
left
in the
of
door, she's on the wall to the right of the door.
Yeah.
There you go.
So like when the door swings open, the door will still block her. So the first person that the person walking in sees is the giant on the hammock instead of the person hiding behind the door.
And then they'll see the lamp.
Yeah.
Yes.
They'll
okay,
they'll be
that's
intimidated
what I
by
want.
they'll be intimidated by the giant instead of not being intimidated by me.
Well, he also needs to make sure he's not blinded, deafened, or incapacitated. So
I have
Blinded or
advantage-
incapacitated.
I have advantage on Dex against not blinded, deafened, or incapacitated.
So
believe it or not, I've actually read some of these character sheets, so I kind of had an idea why you were leaving a light on.
So Burn.
Yes.
Did X actually take residence in the house with us?
He's on the roof.
X is a wonderful spy master, and while y'all made it into the city with him, shortly after that, y'all lost track of him, and there's no telling where he is. He is in the city, but where he is in relation to you, you do not know.
And what he's doing and how long he's been standing there in a trance waiting for somebody to say something to him.
He's probably on a roof somewhere trying to talk.
No.
He's probably on our roof.
Go up to my room and look out the window and see him in the window in the next house over, just waving at me like, "Hi."
I was gonna say
He's got a bat cowl on. He's out there patrolling at night so everybody else can sleep good.
I was gonna say he's Drax. He's like, I have mastered the art of standing still.
I am a tree.
invisible.
Nobody notices me.
All right, so it is quite late, so we're going to go ahead and be wrapping this up. So I'm just going to take one last opportunity to drop one last little bit of story before we call it a night, and we'll see everybody back for part 2. So I rolled. So in the middle of the night, roughly about 3 o'clock or so, Shin, your meditation is kind of interrupted when that ale or that
Alarm.
no, your drink that you had back at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
The cider.
Okay.
The cider was really good. There's no poison or anything to this. It's just worked its way through your system in the middle of the night. So,
You have to pee.
Yeah.
do you want to go out and use the device out in the room at the end of the hallway?
Pee through the alarm.
Pee through the alarm.
There's no alarm going off.
Spend 11 minutes and I alarm the toilet.
No. I'm
I'm
talking
just
about,
asking. I'm just asking. Do you want to
And
pee out
then
the
I
window,
use the
or do you want
toilet.
to go?
Oh my god.
Do you want to pee out the window, or do you want to go to the toilet, or what? What do you want
The
to do?
toilet's definitely alarmed, but I'm gonna use it.
Okay. So you head out in the hallway. You're kind of rubbing your eyes from your meditation. It's still kind of like the effects of sleep a little bit. And you wake up quite quickly, and you walk out, and you're looking towards the toilet. And we'll see everybody next time.
Oh, good. I look at the toilet, and we'll see you next time.
There's a freaking tentacle about to jump out at you.
Is it tiny or smaller?
Oh my god.
You look at the toilet. All right, have a good night.
Look at the toilet and look,
Good
there
night.
is water.
Session ending.
Whoa,
You're a
whoa. We are not trying to have a good time.
This is either anime or another flavor of anime. That's what they're trying to do.
If I wanted a good time, I would have gone back to the bar.
I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going.
All of a sudden you have is he goes, Shin just turns around and goes, "Oh, daddy."
Oh! Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
No, there's a reason for this, but for all of you viewers, for everyone's streams, and for everybody who is in the audience here on the stage, I just want to thank you all for coming in. This was Chapter 1, Part 1. But to figure out exactly what Shin saw when he entered into the hallway and looked down, you're going to have to tune in next time.
His dude.
It was Matt.
It was Exodus with his mouth open like, I'm ready.
Oh no! Oh god!
Good night.
You all have a wonderful night, and we will see you back here for Part 2. We'll let you know when that is, and yeah, have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Peace.
X is gonna look back on this, listen back on this VOD, and be
He's
like,
gonna get to
what
the
the
end and be like,
fuck?
It was massive. It was his dick. No, wait, hold on.
He's gonna be
Thank you all for playing. I hope it's interesting. I hope I left it on a cliffhanger enough that you're interested in where Part 2 is going to start and keep going.
He looked at the toilet.
Part 2's gonna start.
And we'll find out next
Right?
time.
You too? Me most of all.
I rolled a dice for who was going to have to get up and pee in the middle of the night. I rolled a 5, so when I go across the character list, it's Shin. I'm like, the guy who sets the alarms is the one who's going to set them all off? Okay, this is great.
No, I can't set them off.
He looks in the toilet and finds out someone dropped a log and didn't flush it.
I have so many thoughts running through my head, and some of them are not.
God damn it! Who
great.
keeps not flushing the toilet?
Oh my god!
He looks down at the toilet. He's like, that is not bird poop.
Narrows it down.
What did I do to deserve this?
What are all these pellets floating in the water?
Oh my goodness. Alright, hang on a second. I'm gonna end my stream real quick. Give me a moment.
Alright.
Alright, guys. Hang on. I'm gonna come over here. Have me enlarged. Thank you all so very much for joining in on this crazy D&D adventure. This was part 1 of the Darkness live streamer group, D&D group that we have going on. This was part 1, or chapter 1, part 1 of the campaign that Afterburn 85 has named The Encroaching Darkness. I'm Jadefire 2013. You can go ahead and I will be uploading this full VOD onto YouTube, and my YouTube stuff is Jadefire 2013 on YouTube as well. I also am uploading weekly, at least once a week. It may be a few times a week at this point. Just depends on how well my editing goes. I'm learning. It's okay. So, thank you guys all so very much, and I will talk to you guys next time. Later, Space Cats.